Let's make sure our audio is good here. Hoping that we've fixed the technical issues from yesterday. Let's make sure that our audio is good. Check, check, check. Make sure that our audio is good. Okay, nice. That seems good. So what's the plan for today? We're gonna hit some balls, do some drills, right? Answer questions that people might have, you know, working on their own games. Na, 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 na. What I really gotta get is a ball, like a range caddy. You know, a bucket, something to that effect. Keep them organized over here. Ooh. Not had nearly as much time to stream the last few days as I usually would hope to, but we made a ton of progress on some other cool stuff. Always important to make sure your body's loose and primed to move before you start asking it to do a move, especially one like a golf swing. Oh, and the dogs are here. Hello, dogs. Stay away from there. Yeah, that's good. Hi. Do you want some attention? Yeah. Oh, there's good attention over here. There is. Yeah, you smiling for the people? Oh, there's another one. You making trouble? You're making trouble. Hi. You guys gonna help us practice? Oh. Try to keep this as clean as I can, but sometimes there's only so much you can do. Hey, buddy. Accidentally hit by something. Down and down and now. All right, so we've had to kind of modify some things in the swing. Hopefully, it's a short-term issue. What I've been working on recently, guys, a lot of these like 9-3 swings, I call them, right? You know, where the lead arm gets here to parallel, and then you strike it, and the follow through is about the same, right? Parallel. You know, so if you imagine a clock face with 9 and 3. Teach me how to not hook it. All right, Jabs, I can help you with that. What's my handicap? Usually around 0. So if you're hooking it, right, let's understand first what's happening. When you're coming into impact, right, this club face is closed, pointed this way for a right-handed player, right, and that path is some amount out to the right. You know, maybe more than you want, right? So when that club face is closed, you produce a shot that has a lot of this right to left spin, right? So broadly, the number one thing that's going to help is getting the club face more open. Certainly does matter, but the club face is really going to be the king when it comes to trying to correct this stuff. So a couple drills I would give you. You can drop a head cover down to use as a blocker, right? So if you were to make that swing that's really from the inside with the face closed, right, that path to the ball is going to be blocked. So you could practice hitting some shots, which I won't do while my best buddy is in the way. right? But trying to avoid hitting that club head and getting your path more neutral, right? More down the target line. And a task-oriented drill that can also help is, just using your brain, letting your athletic ability take over, and saying, okay, we have to produce a cut shot. Whatever happens, I can set up as if I'm going to hit it right down the center of the fairway, but I'm going to force that ball to end up in the right rough. Right? Whatever I have to do to adjust my path, my face, it might take you a few tries, but give yourself that task orientation to say, we can't hit it, we can't let it hook and go over there. Right? And what you're trying to develop is the skill of controlling the club face and the path into impact, right, to produce those different shots. Right? That's how you hit draw by changing the impact conditions. So give those drills a try, see if that helps with the hook. Alpine, can you show me a good 52-degree swing? Sure. And then Zoop said, can you do a what's in the bag? We can do a what's in the bag. But I'll hit some 52 degrees first. Get this guy out of the way. We'll need that later. All right, so this is my 52 degree, a little bit old, SM8, 52. And I play, my wedge is pretty close to the center of my stance. If anything, you'd want it to be fractionally back of center, but again, I think like right in the center is a great place to start. And then especially with the wedges, I'm going to make sure that my chest and my arms, everything is connected. I don't need to, these aren't clubs you're trying to hit super far distance, right? We want accuracy and distance control. So my wedge swing especially is pretty abbreviated. Right? You're trying to make sure you have good contact. You don't want that ball curving a whole bunch through the air. You're trying to produce, pretty consistent launch and spin conditions, so that we know that distance will be consistent on a good strike. So just pretty balanced. Keep your chest moving, everything connected. Bree can't even hit a golf ball. I struggle with confidence with my 52, 56, especially if there's hazards in the way. Hey, Julian's here. Julian says, love the new tent, by the way. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm excited to have this. Come out here earlier in the day, keep the temperatures down. Oh, you guys are playing rough. I love it. So again, that towel drill where we tuck the towel under our armpits and just turn back and through can be a really good one. I should go get one of those towels. I know exactly where one is. Bear with me, guys. I'll be back in 60 seconds. You want to see the dogs? Come here, dogs. Come here. They're wrestling right now. They're not very interested in me. Come here, boy. What are you doing? You guys are a mess. You're covered in dirt. Come here. Come here. Okay. Gentle now. Gentle. I know. You're crazy. Here. You know what we can just do? This is what I gotta deal with. They really are best friends, which is pretty cool. Yeah, now are you guys are shy? Because you're on camera? Is that what happened? All right. How big does the towel need to be? Just like an average, like I'm going to call it a golf towel, right? The one that you would get at a tournament or as a tee gift. I'll be right back with one. Just big enough so that you can All right, guys, so we've acquired the towel. Just big enough to dry your tears if you shank one. My tears are huge. That's hilarious, Julian. Okay. So the towel drill, like I was saying, right? You're gonna tuck this under your arms, right? And this is gonna force you to keep this connection between your arms and your upper body, right? You wanna make sure this doesn't fall out. Because this does a lot of good things, right? If you get disconnected on the way back, you're gonna lose it. If you chicken wing on the way through, like this, you're gonna lose it on the front, right? So hit some shots. You can do it at slow speed, but really practice that feeling. You can use it, use the wedge that you're struggling with, right? To build some confidence. And you're gonna just really make sure everything stays nice and connected, right? That towel stays in place. You hit the shot. The only time I don't like doing this drill with driver, but driver is a different kind of swing, a different objective. No, okay, no, we're not doing that. Come on. Really, guys? Oh, my goodness. The yard has enough holes in it. It really does. So give that a try, right? Make sure you're feeling that connection. Can be a really good one. So a hook is not caused from going over the top. Well, it can be, right? If your hook, right? If your over the top move, and you're swinging across it, right? Where the path is to the left and the face is closed, well, then you could have a ball that starts left and goes left. That certainly could be from being over the top, right? But the over the top is more going to impact the path, right? You can be over the top and get the ball, back to, or get the face back to square and still hit okay golf shots. But if you're worried about being over the top, right? Again, it depends on, is your hook starting left and going left, or is it starting right and going left? That's important to understand. Out. Oh boy. Crazy dogs sometimes. Still humid, even though, I think this, I think the tent is saving, probably 10 degrees compared to being in the sun. Maybe even more. It's so much cooler. Same, hope my club's okay after I shank or chunk it. That's funny. Julian said, okay, nice, good exercise. Gonna walk the dog. We'll watch it later for sure. Have a nice day. Thanks very much, Julian. I appreciate you being here and saying hi. Golf on, exactly. That's right. So I like that drill with your wedge just to build confidence, right? When you know that you're making a good connected swing, it's gonna help you get the the center of the face on the golf ball. And right, remember what your objective is with a wedge. Your objective is to fly at a pretty consistent distance, whether that's 100 yards, 120 yards, right, whatever the distance of the wedge in your hand you expect it to go. No. Out. Now. These dogs are not supposed to be getting back here. All right. Your tears. Well, large tears maybe. So you don't want to strike it like that, way out on the toe. But so I was saying, make sure that you remember what your goal is, right? You don't need to swing super hard at these clubs. Darwin Little says, you do that with irons. Yep, I do the, you talking about the towel drill? I sure do. What was I hitting before? 8-iron? Let's keep going with that. We can do some of these too. Great drill to keep that connection. Na, 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 na. That would be another improvement we could do. We could get some speakers maybe up in here. Find a way to play some stream acceptable music. Man, I can't tell you how much nicer it is having this whole setup with the Let's see how these swings look. Yeah, pretty good. I like that move a lot. It's hard to keep the towel on the lead side in a full backswing. I think it's maybe your backswing's getting long then. Zoop says, I'm a 14-year-old golfer. I've been golfing about 2 years. How do I increase distance? All right, great question, Zoop. And congrats on, your commitment to being a golfer. It's pretty cool. So there's two options for increasing distance, right? We want to hit the ball further, especially off the tee, right? Option one is increase the size of your engine, right? That means speed training, lifting weights, improving the clubhead speed that you can generate, right? I use the super speed sticks here, and maybe the body's feeling good in a little bit once we get warm. We'll break these out and do some speed training. So this is an overspeed training. There's another one called the stack that's similar. And those are, golf swing specific, right? You could also just go in the gym and squat, deadlift, bench press, build some muscle and, be able to swing the club faster that way. So that's option one, swing the club faster. Option two is optimize the speed that you already have, right? By, launching it at the appropriate angle. So that's kind of 13 to 18 degrees with spin in the low 2000s, right? So maybe 2200, launching at 15 degrees, right? That's how you're gonna really maximize the carry distance that you can get out of your current speed, right? And ideally you're doing some amount of both of these. Does the towel drill help close club face on impact? I struggle with leaving it slightly open and pushing the ball right. It certainly can. I would tell you though that I think of the towel drill more for maintaining connection, right? And help, reminding myself to turn back and through, right? Keeping, everything kind of connected to my chest. If you're finding that you struggle to keep the club face closed while you do the drill or all the time would be my question. Because if it's during the drill, you're saying, okay, I can't maintain that connection and keep the club face closed, right? So you need to make some other adjustment in order to get that face more shut, right? That could be at address, that could be, with your grip. Right, but think about it, break it down into the component parts. Or can you keep the club face square and hit straight shots? If yes, then you're able to do it. If you're saying I just can't do it with the towel drill, then you're saying, I need to do something that loses that connection in order to square the club face. Let me go see what these dogs are doing. I'll be right back. No, no. Out, out. Don't stay. Come on, out, out. Yeah. Okay. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Come on. Out, out. Yeah, that's good dogs. Okay. I am responsible for their safety, so sometimes I have to step away and do that. Zoop says, I do football too, which is a great combo with golf. That is a good combo with golf, right? You know, you got to be able to generate force. You know, you got to build a strong core, strong legs. Noah says, help me stop getting stuck and get to my left side. Aiden said hi. Hey, Aiden. All right, so Noah, if you're getting stuck, right, you're telling me, you know, you're getting to the backswing, right, and you're trying to get the club down here, but it's out of the way, and you're kind of hanging back, right? If the club feels stuck behind you, right? What I would tell you to do, and this might sound, you know, unusual, but practice without a club, right? Remove the golf swing, you know, the timing of it, right? And just practice the move of getting to here, right? And you can let your heel come up if it helps. You know, make your backswing, and then practice the weight shift, the transition, right? So the first thing that you want to have happen is the weight starts going this way, right? Down into our left heel, right? That's what pushes the left hip back and creates all this space here that we need to make the downswing happen, right? Right now, you're saying you don't have that room because you're kind of stuck back here. So by practicing that weight shift independently of the golf swing, I found for me that helped a ton, really helped a lot in understanding like, what is it supposed to feel like to really sequence the swing properly. So, you know, you can break the swing down, make some little practice swings, right? And just break it down into backswing, weight shift, and hit. So remember, you're gonna have to exaggerate these feels, really practice like what it feels like to shift that weight from the trail side to the front side, you know, really as the start of the downswing, right? Before anything else starts moving. Another drill that I really like is the freezer drill, right? So you make your normal backswing, and then you just pause for a second before coming down to hit it. You know, give it a full 1 second, 1/1000, and then strike it. That is a really good way to feel, you know, really force yourself to understand the sequencing. Make sure that everything is moving. You know, you can keep your balance, all these kind of good things that we want in our golf swing. Aiden says, what are you doing? I am giving golf lessons to people on the internet. As I work on my own game, trying to share some knowledge that I've acquired over a lot of years of practicing this very silly game. And I make content about golf. I also talk about things, you know, that I've experienced, like, you know, being sober from alcohol for, you know, almost 4.5 years now. Talk about, you know, things like mental health and going to therapy and how that can be an awesome tool for people, and, you know, trying to make sure that we talk about these issues. So, you know, golf is a great container, but it's not the only thing that I am here to talk about. I like the live stream format, right? Because it creates a space, a community where people can interact with each other. You know, we've had a lot of people come back. They get to know each other in the chat. And, you know, really just trying to create a place where people want to hang out, you know, learn some stuff about golf, or just even, you know, find some positivity in a world that has, you know, plenty of scary stuff happening, right? If you want to be concerned, just turn the news on for 5 minutes. So trying to give people a place that's, you know, just positive and motivating. Right? You know, my message at its core is, if I can change my life, you can change your life too. You know, whether that's weight loss or mental health, you know, struggles with substance abuse, like for me it was alcohol. You know, hard to imagine now, right? But I used to be 230 pounds. I was a big fella. Blake says, that was a chunk. Everyone is Tiger off turf. Well, the turf's what I got to practice, so I'm doing my best. Noah says, thank you. I like the idea of thinking before anything starts moving. Yeah, great point, Noah. And I love this, like trying to feel almost with every swing like a pause. It's very, you won't see it on video, but to me, I feel like every swing, the club and my arms, everything fully stops at the top for like a split second. And then it allows me to sequence, you know, make sure my hips are rotating. Joni said hello. Juan said, are you in Florida? No, I'm not in Florida. Izul said, hey man, love the content. Thanks very much, Izul. Nathan, love to see a friend of Bill's doing what they love and enjoying life on life's terms. Proud of you, brother. Thanks very much, Nathan. The fact you slimmed down from 230, congrats, bro. Tips for weight transfer, I struggle most with that. Thanks very much, Matt. I appreciate that. It's very nice. Yeah, so I was just talking about this with Noah. What I like to do, and what I've done a lot of, is practicing the transition separately from the golf swing, right? So just, you know, making a backswing, feeling my weight here, kind of on the inside. You know, this quad here, right, is where the weight is in the backswing. And then just practicing this move, right? Feeling my weight shift from here, you know, towards my left heel almost, right? Kind of back in this direction. And then I can, once I've you know, can feel what that sequence is like, you know, and understanding that everything else comes after that weight shift, right? We want to kind of unwind the oil in the opposite way that we started it up, right? So weight transfer, and then everything else unwinds. So you can break it down and make it really small, right? And just practice. Right? Like make a little half swing, feel that weight shift, and then go. Right? And you can hear, you know, it's a nice, crisp, you know, compressed strike when you do it properly. And it will really help you feel, you know, that's why I like letting my left heel come up a little bit, like all through the bag, driver all the way to a sand wedge, right? Because for me, you're not going to really notice it, right? But my left heel is off the ground. You could put, you know, half a golf ball under there. But if I feel that foot, if I, you know, feel in my swing, my downswing, that left foot coming down, that's when I really play some good golf. I'm not worried about where the club is at the top. I'm just trying to feel in my feet almost the sequencing of the swing. Ashenite says, after watching you, Jimmy, Tropicana, Danny Mott, and Marty, I've dropped an average of 9 strokes off my game. Shot a 92 yesterday. That's awesome, Ashenite. I appreciate you coming to share that feedback with me. That's very, very cool. And honestly, it's fascinating to be, you know, mentioned in the same kind of breadth as some of those guys who've been doing, you know, this YouTube thing for a long time. So very, very cool. I appreciate you saying that. Nathan says, great swing thoughts. Thanks very much. Crab, I recently started shanking it a lot after finally reaching single-digit handicap. Do you know why? Crab, good question. Okay, so shanking, right? All you're really saying is sometimes my strike is on the heel, and once in a while it's really, really on the heel, right? And I hit it, you know, I present the hosel, right? That's all that's happening. It's not like your swing is broken. You know, don't let it, you know, freak you out, right? The easiest way to fix this, Crab, go hit a bunch of balls and tell yourself, all right, I'm gonna hit 20 balls in a row, and I'm gonna hit all of them out of the toe. And what you're gonna find is a bunch of those that you're trying to hit on the toe are actually gonna be in the center, right? But what we're trying to do is move your strike pattern from here back towards the center, right? So you have to exaggerate, you know, you gotta aim for over here. You're telling me your normal swing is coming over here. Well, we gotta aim over here to land in the middle, right? And then eventually, if you hit, you know, maybe 100 balls, you could actually start hitting it on the toe. And then you'd say, okay, we've learned how to maneuver our strike pattern around the face. And this is a great for everybody, right? Practice hitting 5 balls out of the heel, 5 out of the toe. See how many you can do successfully. Because what you want to do is build up the skill of being able to deliver the center of the face, right? So you know, if you can imagine on command being able to hit the heel or the toe, well, then you could probably also hit the center, right? Izul, hey man, if you don't mind. I don't mind at all. This is what we're here to do. I love the questions. I love the engagement. Just got to keep these dogs from out. Come on. No, over here. Out. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, boy. I love these animals dearly, but sometimes they are too smart for their own good. That ought to work. All right. The question is really just, you know, how long can I make a barricade that will defeat them for some amount of time? Seb said, move your mic position, bro. It's picking up your shirt rubbing on it. All right, I can try that. I don't know how well it would stay on a hat like this. What about that? Is this crazy? Is it better now? I really have, okay, so Izul was saying, if you don't mind, which I don't mind, I really have an issue understanding hip rotation and staying loaded, like how to do both. Crab said so much better. Okay, great. Mic better on hat. Okay, awesome. Great feedback, guys. I appreciate that. Whew, gotta stay hydrated. I'm chasing these animals around. All right, so let's answer Azul's question. So the answer is you don't want to stay loaded necessarily, right? We do want to unload that energy that we store in the backswing. Come on out from there. Come on out. Yeah, good job. Right, that is part of what I was describing, you know, a second ago with that weight transfer, right? That is that unloading of that energy, because we're trying to get as much of that energy that we can store, right, in this backswing back into that golf ball, right? That's what the golf ball only cares about, the physics. Don't care how we do it. So we're trying to get that energy back into the ball. And what I would tell you is you kind of want to get to, like, if you ever watch Kyle Berkshire swing, he's the #1 long driver guy. You know, he'll get as much weight as he can on one side so as to be able to let that other foot come up, kind of like this, right? But it's not more than that. It's not outside of this foot. Right? It's just really enough to, you know, feel like that other foot could briefly come up, right? You want to get that weight, you know, 90% stacked in the backswing and then unload it, right? So in golf, we want that to look like that. Again, weight shift, and then the hips turn, right? And get out of our way this way because we need this space for our arms and the club to come through. A good way to think about it that resonated with me was, imagine there's a box, right? And the only thing allowed inside the box is the club and your arms, right? And the box comes right up to your body. So you're not allowed to go closer to the ball. You can't get your body into the box, right? You've got to keep your hips and your torso and everything out of the way, right, going this way to then rotate around, right, while this club is extending down our target line so we can hit the ball that way, right? But it's a matter of, how can we move this energy, that we produce by pushing into the ground, right? We send the club up, and we're trying to get as much of it back into that golf ball at impact as we can, right? Does that help, Izul? Crab says, what net do you have? Great question, Crab. This is the Net Return Pro Series, and I, like a doofus, once again forgot to put the link in the description, which I will grab and do right now. I love this net. I'm going to drop the link in because it's the only brand or affiliate program that I've had any interest in doing in the whole 6 months that I've started. I've had brands reach out and be like, do you want to sell our stuff? I was like, nope, this is not good. But I bought this with my own money, and it's really just a built-to-last product is what I would tell you. Here we go. It's honestly, I've already packed it up and moved it once. It comes with a great little duffel bag. There we go. So if you're interested, check out the link in the description, guys, with the code there if you want 10% off on net return. It's a premium product, right? I think it's $695. If you want a cheap one on Amazon, like, save your money, because this is not a cheap one, right? This is like really, really solid. I've never once, there's probably only, 4 to 6 inches of space between the back bar of the net and this fence. In my old location, if you guys have been following the stream for a long time, there was a wall, a barn door directly behind the net. Not once did we have a ball ricochet, even hitting drivers at 168, 170 miles an hour ball speed. It's just a really well-built product. I'm convinced that I'm going to be hitting into this for a decade. Truly, like 10 years I can have this thing before it breaks down. Let me see if the link worked. I can get back in here, see the chat. There we go. Look at that. Do you recommend a gap session for beginner golfers to get an idea of how far they hit, or wait after a few months, or don't recommend at all? Well, it's always a good idea to have some sense of how far the ball is flying with each club, right? You can usually rent time for $50 or $60 on a TrackMan, which is an indoor system that, will tell you the ball flight data, and you could build out a little spreadsheet or, write them down in a piece of paper, put it in your golf bag. You'd write down all your clubs, and then you'd hit, 5 or 10 shots with each club. And ideally, you'd want to, make sure that they were good strikes. So I would say, if you're still not consistently, like, getting the ball up in the air, or really struggling to, like, consistently, get a good strike on the ball, maybe wait until you feel like, 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 swings, you're going to, have a pretty good shot at making a good strike on it. And then see how far those balls go on the TrackMan. You write them down and then have an idea, right, of, okay, I'm 110 yards. Maybe for you that's a 9-iron or a 52 degree. I have no idea how much, club head speed you have. But yeah, it's a great idea to have some idea of those baseline numbers. Why am I associated with all of you? What's this? From Budget Traveler Kim. You got to tell me more. Secondly, it's pretty clear what it is. Thanks, Crab. I appreciate that. If you're having a good time hanging out with us like Crab and you want to hit that subscribe button, it really does help me out, guys. Trying to get out from behind a desk and be able to do more of this. And it's honestly incredible. I'm so grateful for how much support we've already experienced. I mean, we're probably going to hit 3,000 subscribers today, guys. And it's only been, 7 months since we started on YouTube. Honestly, I'm so blown away. I'm so grateful for all the support, all of our return viewers, people coming back to Happy Gilmore. I'm not going to do Happy Gilmore in here because I might injure myself. But we could maybe do a little version of it. Saints said hi. Love golf. Thanks very much, Saints. I appreciate you being here. Always nice to meet new people. Nick said, nice setup. Thanks, Nick. How did your qualifier go? It went okay. I played Played 15 really, really good holes, and then I'm 2 silly doubles, and I missed the cut by 3. But for how little golf I've, actual on-course golf I've played this year, I was pretty happy with that result. It was 76 for me, and 73 was the number. Honestly, surprisingly, the driver was the club that cost me the most, and it was dumb. Like I said, 2 silly doubles, hitting driver on holes that I shouldn't have been hitting driver on. And, that's part of the process, right? Is, you got to maintain your strategic composure, your mental game for all 18 holes. And I did a really good job for like 14 and a half of them. And I still hit a lot of awesome golf shots. Made some nice putts, but just a couple strategic errors and bad swing, bad times. Olivia says, I want advice. I see you have tattoos, but how bad do they hurt? Great question. Well, you are correct. I do have quite a lot of tattoos. And my honest answer to you is it totally depends. Where on your body, mostly. Also, to some extent, the tattoo artists themselves makes a big difference. I've had people tattoo me that have a very light touch, right? And you're kind of like, oh, this, I can hang out and do this, for quite a while. And then there's people that have tattooed me where I'm like, man, you are really just making sure you're getting in there and not leaving, any any amount of skin, unturned. The other thing I would say personally is I find that the positions that you have to get into to get tattooed in certain places much more uncomfortable. Like you imagine like laying on your side with one leg behind you, like this, so that the guy can tattoo like, the back of your ankle or something. I sometimes find that sitting in those uncomfortable positions is worse than even being tattooed. Personally, the tattoos that I have that were the most uncomfortable was my chest, probably like right on my sternum. I have a tattoo, and that was very unpleasant. That probably took about 2 hours, and I, spent 2 hours wishing it was over. Aiden says, I can get my 6-iron 130 golfer, been to the range 3 times. What would you recommend I work on first? Obviously, you can't see my swing. What's something you wish you knew sooner to practice more? Great question, Aiden. I really like how you framed that, right? Something that I wish I knew. And what I would tell you is I wish I knew sooner how much the impact position is, like 80 to 90% of what matters in golf, right? If you watch professional golfers, you'll see a whole variety of swings, different shapes, right? Some of them are very upright. Some of them, have 2 planes, right? Well, they'll come up this way and the club flattens like this. Some of them are just kind of go up a plane and down a plane, like Bryson, right? Tons of different ways to get it done. What is very, very, very consistent among all good ball strikers, right, is they have control of the club face and the path into the ball, and they strike the ball consistently. They hit the ball first and then the turf, right? So what I would tell you, with all that in mind, is that impact is what you really, really should work on, right? So go to the range, grab like, I have an 8-iron here, and you can imagine trying to hit it, 20 or 30 yards in the air, right? You're going to make a really small little half swing, but you're going to practice, how can I get the center of that club face on the ball consistently, right? This is about practicing the technique of striking the ball, impact, right? It's so, so important, especially with your irons. And like most things, when we're doing technique work, we don't want to do it at full speed. I did way, way, way too much practice. I would hit 300 golf balls, right? And I would make 300 full swings, I had different targets and different shots and stuff, but I did very little like technical, technique building work that I really wish I had done sooner, right? You can imagine, if you were trying to learn guitar, you wouldn't practice your, notes and strumming and stuff like while trying to play a song in front of people, right? You would, go really slow and you go, okay, it's like this, 1, 2, I don't play guitar, but this is an example that came to mind, right? You got to slow down to build the technique. And honestly, if you're a beginner golfer, you can't do this too much, right? You could save, 10 balls at the end to work on execution, right? Practicing, picking a target, seeing can I hit the ball to that target with a consistent shape and strike it nicely. But again, just work on impact. Impact is so, so important. Dr. Mears says, practice 100 yards and in. Trust me, try to get in the hole in 3 every time you're in 150. Exactly. Yes, very, very well said, Dr. Mears. Hey, David Weller's back. Glad to be back. Thanks very much for coming back, David. I appreciate that. Same to you. Hold on, buddy. Same to you, I promise. Okay. Do you think grip affects your swing as much? Grip definitely has a big impact on your swing. Because if you think about it, our grip, right, that's what controls this club face. So what I tell people for grip, and what has really resonated with me is, imagine you were trying to swing this stick into the ground at a high speed, right? It didn't have a club on it, right? This is just a stick, and we're trying to swing it into the ground really fast, right? Just boom, like create a lot of energy into the ground right there in front of us, right? If you gripped it with your hand underneath like this, right, you're not going to really be able to generate much speed. Even if you rotate your body super hard, right, there's kind of this very, weak position with the, underneath, right? Then more neutral, maybe, is like this, and you can generate a bit more speed, right? Certainly feels a little better. But if you got your hand more on top of this club, right, a stronger grip, you could really, boom, generate some speed into the ground, right? So the grip definitely has a big impact on, how our body moves and works, in relation to the club and being able to generate speed and consistently control that club face. Another important thing is grip the club in the position that you want to strike the ball, right? So I see so many videos where they show you the grip and they hold the club up just like this. They're like, this is what your grip should look like. And then 2 minutes later, they say, and by the way, at impact, you want your hands in front, right? Well, if you take the same grip, right, and all you do is push the handle forward, what do? You really open the face, right? So your grip might be, okay, if that was how you were going to actually strike it, right? But if you're weakening it by trying to deliver the handle more forward. So my point is, address the club to the ball the way you want to strike it, right? With this handle more forward by our left thigh, right? And then grip it. Because now you don't have to manipulate anything. You're just square at the position you want to come back to impact at. So that's really helped a lot for me. John Hayes says, I can't stop hitting my irons off the toe, and my irons nearly go the same distance. My swing speed is the same for all my irons. Any advice, John? I have a SkyTrack. Yeah, so what you really need to work on, John, and the way that I would do this, the thing you need to work on is moving your strike pattern back towards the center of the face, right? Because if you're telling me, hey, my irons are all kind of going the same distance, it's telling me that you're maybe not delivering the best, most optimal impact conditions into the ball, right? So to do that, what I would have you do is, it's not, if you have a SkyTrack, you have a way to practice side, tell yourself, okay, I'm going to hit the next 20 shots. I'm going to hit 20 balls in a row, and they're all going to be out of the heel, right? Borderline try to shank it, right? Move that strike pattern more towards the heel, right? And what that's going to do is, if you're consistently striking it on the toe, what you'll find is the intention of hitting it on the heel is a lot of them are going to be hit out of the center, right? After 20 or 50 swings of trying to hit it on the heel, you might actually start hitting it on the heel. So then you would adjust, right, and say, okay, we're going to swing it more towards the toe, move our strike position back, towards the center of the face. So the swing speed should definitely alter a little bit, right, as the irons get longer. So just keep an eye on that, right? That could be, subconscious or really trying to, aim the strike. David says, I'm a 16 handicap. Is a 64-degree wedge even efficient for me? I can hit a pretty good flop shot, but I get a ton of spin. Wondering if I shouldn't go for a 60. So David, if you're a 16 handicap, what I would tell you is that the difference between a 64 and a 60 is probably not, what's holding your scores back. If you're saying like, hey, I want to play better golf, could one of these clubs make a difference for me? I think more, again, practicing those impact drills might be a better place to focus. But to answer your question, whatever you feel confident with, that you can consistently hit your chip shots, out of the rough or out of the bunker and onto the green, and make sure that, 10 out of 10 times is the goal. That when you're chipping around the green, your next shot is a putt from the green, right? It could be 30, 40 feet, right? But you don't want to be chipping again. You don't want to leave it in the bunker. That's how we make doubles and triples, and we really see our scores shoot up, right? So I would tell you, if you feel super confident with that 64 degree and you can just, see a ton of loft and you can make a consistent chip shot, right, and use that loft to get the ball on the green consistently, then go for it. But again, I would spend some time understanding, like, what are my goals around the green? Do I need that flop shot? Is there a different club that might be more beneficial? You don't have to have answers to all these questions, but these are the things I would be thinking about. Doesn't really matter if I de-lofted or not. Still lots of spin. Well, again, spin is going to be dependent on the conditions that you're playing on, right? Bermuda grass will spin more than some others. If you're chipping into the grain or down grain, could also make a difference. So again, if you're saying I can't control the spin, I'm overspinning all my chip shots. Well, then you maybe adjust the club, try a lower lofted club. But ideally, what you want is just a consistent. Hey, if I land it 70% of the way, then it's going to roll the rest of the 30. Some people like playing a bump and run shot where they're like, I'm only going to land it 20% of the way there, very low to the ground, and let it roll 80% of the way, right? But the skill that you need to develop is, can I consistently, from around the green, hit the ball and control the distance that it's going, right? Opens the face, no bueno. What's a good putting setup? Stealth. Let me ask you this: is a question about like how you should stand to the ball, or like a practice setup, a way to practice? Because that's a different answer. D-base says driver tips. Yeah, my best driver tips are number one, swing it at a speed where you are very, very confident you know where it's going. Right? I get guilty of this sometimes, and for me, oftentimes that's like 80%. When I'm on the course, I really don't feel like I'm swinging very hard at driver, and when I do swing hard at it, bad things happen. Right? So you can practice your swing speed away from the golf course. You guys see me do this all the time with the super speed, right? Doing my speed training. You can just hit a bunch of drivers really hard at the driving range, right? But when you're on the golf course, you really need to make sure you're making a controlled swing, and keeping the ball in play, right? Penalties, drives out of bounds or into hazards, easy way to get your scores going up, right? So for me, it sometimes feels like it's, like I said, 80 to 90% on the course where I'm just kind of cruising. And, 9 out of 10 times I'm going to hit it pretty close to the center of the face and it's going to fly, somewhat straight, right? So that's my best tip, right? Work on your speed away from the golf course. And then when you're out playing, make sure you're keeping it in play off the tee. My putts are really good, it says D1 Mason Sports number 2. Putting is so important, so keep that up. NES Quick, where are you releasing your wrists in iron shots? Are they still bent at impact? Yeah, so I feel like the release with the irons is pretty late. And by that I mean, ideally, when you're coming back into the ball, right, you're releasing the club, but the hands are still moving such that by the time you get to impact, right, the hands are in front of the ball. This is extremely common, very consistently seen, all levels, top-level amateurs, professional golfers, right? The shaft is leaning forward at impact. They're hitting the ball first, de-lofting the iron, right? So you can still feel like you're releasing it, right? But that release might be here, right? And so I'm really feeling the club getting past my hands like after impact, right? Almost like you were, imagine, you were digging the club out of the ground, right? Like, like this, dragging it in like this. That can be a really good way to feel, right? Don't hit your mat box. Because you definitely, you're still going to have to release it. If you don't release it, then you're just going to not generate any speed, right? You just want that release to be, such that you're still delivering, de-lofting the club and striking it properly. Izul says, hey man, I'm going to head out first, but I'll surely be back. Got yourself a new sub. Amazing, Izul. Thank you so much. I appreciate the sub. You know what we're going to do? We're going to get a quick, a live look, if you will, at the subscriber count. And then what we do is, for somebody like Azul, right, we have this extremely official tracker, and I'm going to use this in a little bit when we do speed training. It never likes to take me where I want to go immediately. All right, so 29.57 is where we're at. All right. And then somebody like Azul says, hey, I just subscribed. Shout out to you, Azul. You get a nice shout out on the stream. And we get to go like 29.58. Very, very cool. Thank you for checking out the stream, my dude, and I appreciate you subscribing. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Squirrel Sniper's here, one of our moderators. Appreciate you being here. Okay, so Stealth wants to know, how should I stand when putting and grip? So grip with the putter is extremely personal, right? You know, there are some like key principles you might want to think about. So let's see what this might look like. A really good way to kind of start getting a sense of what might, you know, feel natural to you that I've seen, right, is hold the club out in front of you like this with your putter. And again, grip, you know, you can grip it 10 fingers, reverse overlap, overlap, interlock, left hand low, claw, you know, pencil, you know, the prayer hands, right? That was like 10 I just came up with off the top of my head. So whatever you can do to, you know, get that club face back to square, right? You know, find what's comfortable for you. But as far as setup, right, hold the putter out in front of you, and then bring your elbows in, right, to where they touch your body, like around, you know, your waist, your hips, and then bend until the putter is behind the ball, right? And that gives you a pretty good sense of where you'd want to start. You know, generally speaking, you want to see your eyes will be kind of right on top of the ball. Don't go back there. Out. Good job. So, give that a try, guys. You know, if you're ever like, hey, how do I do this? What's a good way? Elbows in, bend. Right? I use this left hand low grip. For me, that kind of levels out my shoulders, right, by holding the left hand down lower. You know, for me, with a traditional grip, I can, you know, start hitting it a little bit low on the face and in the heel. So, you know, trying to make sure that my shoulders are nice and level to consistently hit the center of that putter. You know, that's how we're going to get consistent ball speed and roll, control our distance. BW, any advice for a 2 handicap who has 190 ball speed? BW, my advice for you would be to be grateful every day. There's lots to be grateful for, even if it's not, you know, all of the blessings that you outlined in your extremely humble comment. Hey, Elka's back in here. Hey, Elka. Anna says W. John. Thanks, Anna. NES, great feeling to think about. Appreciate that. 29.57. Ludovicus said I just subbed. Amazing. 29.59. Shout out to you, Ludovicus. Extremely cool. Thank you for being here. I'm new, hitting 80 meters with an iron 7. Well, that's okay. It just takes practice to, you know, build up your skills. Like I was saying earlier, really practice that impact position. You know, make these little half swings. Just chip the ball. But practice hitting the center of that club face as much as you can. Now, Constrictor says, what are some of the best training aids for at-home practice? Great question. So, for putting, I love the Pels Tutor. The Pels Tutor is a little plastic tray with these ball bearings at the end, and it simulates gait, right? So you got to practice starting the ball on your intended line. And I use that in conjunction with what's called a well stroke mat. There's lots of videos on my channel about that, and I just have a really simple, you know, 6 to 8 foot ball return setup, and I hit putts, you know, where I'm really just practicing starting the ball on my intended line. And that's giving me a ton of confidence that my stroke is mechanically in a good position, that I'm starting the ball on my line, especially on those short putts. right? So I know that if I've done that drill over and over and over and over again, then when I get on the golf course, I can just really focus on my speed. I'm not worried about the stroke and where the ball's starting. I've done the work. I know that, 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 times, that ball is going to come out where I want it to. So that's a really, really good one for at-home practice. And then I think, for full swing stuff, any kind of like a hitting net, this is a net return. That's a really, really great product. I've got a pretty basic 2x4 box here with some cushioning underneath that I dug into the ground and hit balls into here as much as I want. The tent is a recent addition to, keep it cool and protect us from the sun in here. But even outside of that, right, you could get some foam golf balls and like a little carpet, and you could practice, with you could hang a sheet in your backyard and hit foam balls into it, or hit foam balls into a curtain at home. I've seen people do that. And you can work on your impact position, just hitting these little chip shots, right? But making sure that you're hitting ball first and then the turf. So that can be a good one. Hey, Roman said, what's up? Can I have a shout out? Absolutely. Shout out to you, Roman. New subscriber, Roman Wilcox. 2960, guys. We are continuing to climb towards 3,000 subscribers. Shout out to you, Roman. Raccoon said, how to, G? What's up, Raccoon? Cousin said, I like birdie balls. Yeah, those are good. Raccoon says, how to hit woods higher and straighter. All right, so straighter is going to be the club face, right? So making sure that you are, have that club face square at impact, right? If it's open, you're going to hit big slices, and if it's too closed, you're going to hit hooks. A good way to do that would be, you could grab some tees and make a gate here, right, to really practice hitting the center of the club face. And that will also help you keep it square. As far as hitting it higher, you can move the ball up in your stance a little bit. Right, more speed will also help that ball launch, higher up in the air. So don't be too discouraged, right? If you're still new to golf and your swing speed isn't, fully where you want it to be yet. That will come with more time and practice, right? Speed is a skill that we can develop. So again, making sure that you've got that face square and you're making center contact, right? That's going to really help make sure you got a good launch on it. Any tips to correct an outside-in swing? Eric, I have a great drill for you. What you're going to do is grab a head cover, right? This is my driver head cover. And you're going to drop it down behind your ball and slightly to the right. So kind of in this position, right? And what's happening when we make an outside-in or over-the-top swing, you'll hear it called, right? So this club is getting inside early, right? And then to get back to the ball, we have to go this way and loop it over. So inside and then over is what you're describing to me. If we do that with this head cover in place, right, our path to the ball will be blocked. You're not going to be able to get at the ball, right? So what this is going to do is force you to neutralize that path to avoid hitting that head cover, right? So you want to send the path more neutral, more out to the right, okay? So that's the drill, but I would also tell you, the thing that will help you the most in getting there is making sure that you have good width in the takeaway, right? You want to keep this club head away from you, far away, like a wide, wide arc, right? That's going to make it much easier to let the club fall in here in the slot and you just turn and smash it, right? But if you're inside and stuck, then you got to really make a lot of adjustments, extending, leaning, side bending, right? So give yourself nice width in the takeaway, and that will really make it easier to let that club fall right where you want it to be. Roman says, hit the sub button and the like button. Thanks very much, my dude. Sam said hi. Hey, Sam, what's up? Porter said hi. Hey, Porter, how are you doing? Got him. Just won club champs, and this is legit good advice. Oh, thanks, got him. I appreciate that. Congrats on your club championship victory. That's very exciting. The closest I came was second. I lost on 18 in match play club championship 2 years ago. That was tough, but I actually was really proud of how I played that week. Got the number 2, well, the defending champion who beat me. So he won. I think he won 3 years in a row. He got the automatic number 1 seed, but I shot like 2 under, I think, in qualifying to get the number 2 seed, and then won all my matches, obviously, to get to that final match, and took it all the way to 18. So, especially after I started 3 down, I was 3 down through 3. We tied number 4 with birdies, so I had to make birdie just to stay 3 down, and then fought all the way back to, you know, have a chance to win on 18. That was pretty fun. I appreciate that, Gotham. Yeah, I've certainly spent a lot of time practicing and learning about the golf swing. I think I'm a better teacher than I am player. I gotta stop doing that with this hole in my finger. I keep forgetting about that. Most of the time I play off around 0. Gone up to about a 2 though recently, which is frustrating, but that's golf, right? You know, it's not handicaps are not static things. Our golf swings are always changing. Mr. Too Good said hi. Bennett said hi. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Let me know if you have any questions or things you're working on in your golf swing. Comments, questions, concerns. Gotham said, damn, yeah, I had a similar thing happen last year to me, so this is my comeback redemption. Oh, that's very exciting. Congrats, dude. Well, if you like high-level golf and, you know, pretty chill community, that's what I'm working on building here. A good place that people can hang out and get a break from all the craziness in the world. Hit that subscribe button, guys. You know, working on my game, trying to share some stuff with you guys. Lately, I've been doing a combination of speed training and wedges and short irons is what I've really been focused on. We've maxed out at 116 on the club head speed. But, so here's some background. In college, when I was playing a lot, my club head speed was like 120, 121. You know, my ball speed like around 180. Then, you know, I started working, got a career, sat at a desk all day, got really overweight and out of shape. My club head speed got as low as like 100, right? So when I was really maxing it out a few years ago when I got fit for a driver, it was like 103, 104. It was like a really, really hard swing. And I've done a lot of work to, you know, get in shape to, you know, I quit drinking. You know, I've done a ton of mobility work to try and get back some of that flexibility that I've lost. And to now, you know, I can pretty consistently swing it, you know, like around 110. And when I'm, you know, really going at it, we got up to 116 on the stream the other day. So that was pretty cool, you know, trying to get back to that 120 number. Can you show us your grip close, please? Sure, Rick. So the things that I would tell you, here, let's try and do it this way too. With the grip, right, you want to make sure the club is in your fingers. And then Ludovicus at 7 iron. I'll come back for the 7 iron. We'll talk about that. Right? So in the fingers here, I like to see, and again, you know, I'm trying to grip it with some shaft lean, you know, at address. And so then I'm seeing, you know, maybe 3 knuckles on my left hand here. This V between my index and my thumb, right? Oh, you guys can't really see this. What about now? Right, so this V is pointed at my right shoulder. And then the right hand just kind of sits on top, you know, mostly along for the ride. Going to add a tiny bit of speed at the bottom. And I also have switched this overlap grip. So I just, you know, this kind of sits on top here. You know, at address, it's something like this. Normally I have this thumb more on the club to control the club face, but we ran out of skin recently with a big blister. So a little weaker grip recently. So Ludovicus, if you're just new to golf and you're only hitting your, I think you said 80 meters the 7 iron was going. What I would have you do, right, so I'll grab my 7 iron here. And a really, really good drill for all you guys beginners out there, if you're struggling with your irons, right, is understand that the technique we're working on is ball striking, right? So hitting the ball first and then the turf, or making a divot in front of the ball. We want to strike the center of the face both horizontally and vertically, right? So in that kind of 4th, 5th groove area. So to do that, right, this is an angled face, we need to lean it forward, right, as we're striking it down into the ground. So those are kind of your key things you're working on, right, is hands forward, you know, shaft lean, ball first, and then the turf, and we're trying to hit the center of the face, right? So to work on that technique, what I have everybody do, is just slow it down, right? So this 7-iron that I might be able to hit, I don't know, 185 yards, in this drill, I'm going to try to hit it like 50 yards. But I'm going to try to make sure that my strike is good, and I hit the center of the face, and the ball flies, you know, pretty straight through the air, right? So it's just a little chippy half swing. And I promise you, if you're a new golfer, you cannot do this drill too much, right? Because you're just trying to build that skill of how do I get this face and this club onto the ball. And if you try to do that at full speed, it's going to be much more difficult, right? If you're making big, long swings and trying to improve your technique, it's, you know, it's definitely possible. I did it for myself for a long time. But it's much, much, much easier to make improvement faster by breaking things down, making them smaller, right? And practicing those skills, right? I am Japan gay dog. Oh, that's very cool. I've never had a gay dog in my chat before. How you lose the mobility? I was in a horrific car accident. Oh man, I'm very sorry to hear that, Uno. That sounds scary. Well, I'm glad that you made it through. For me, it was just, you know, years and years of sitting at a desk, you know, sedentary lifestyle, a lot of drinking, especially in my hips, right? I had terrible, terrible back pain, you know, to the point where I was having injections, you know, cortisone in my spine. I, you know, could only stand up for maybe 15 minutes at a time. My golf swing was terrible, as I said, you know, really, really not a lot of speed. You know, and playing golf was painful, right? I didn't have the mobility to rotate and get into the positions you need to. But I am glad that you made it through the car accident. That's scary stuff. I'm just getting started into golf. I'm left-handed. I don't know what to, because when I drive, I always top the ball and tee it low. I just don't know what to do. Also, I slice very bad. Well, Bennett, I would tell you, know, don't be hard on yourself. Golf is a very, very difficult game to master. So give yourself some grace and try to have fun out there. The one tip I would give you, right, if you are topping the ball, understand, you know, what's happening, right? The low point of your swing is just getting too far forward, right? Too far in front of the ball, so you're hitting the top of it, instead of getting, you know, this club face nicely, like, on the back of the ball, right? So you would just need to practice getting that low point a little bit further back. And what the drill I would have you do, right, is grab a wedge or a 9-iron and just make some little half swings, but what you're going to work on is making a divot. You want to make a nice divot after you hit the ball, right? So little half swing, but you want to see a divot in front of the ball. Hopefully you can, you know, work on that on grass, but even if not, right, practice, you know, hitting the ball and then really trying to feel like you would hit the turf after. I like Japan. Where are you from? I am from the northeast part of the United States. I'm from gay Japan. Hans Crispin said hi. Hey, Hans. Udovicus said thank you. You're welcome. Rick Harrison gave me a thumbs up. Thanks very much. Why does most of my shots draw mostly? So the draw is going to be because that club face is a little bit closed, right, relative to the path. And if that path is, you know, out to the right of the ball relative to your target line, that will cause the ball to draw. If you wanted it to draw more, you could close the face more. If you wanted it to draw less, you would get the face more open. Squirrel Sniper said, keep moving. I know I had to learn to walk again after 35 years. Oh man, I didn't know that, Squirrel Sniper. That's crazy. Hollywood's here. What's up, Hollywood? Love the tent, John. Great idea. Thanks very much, Hollywood. Appreciate your support. We're hurtling, if you will, towards 3,000 subscribers, guys. Very cool stuff. Honestly, I thought it would take years and years of doing this consistently to get to, you know, that kind of level. But, you know, it really just goes to show you that if you show up consistently and put the time in, right, like most things, that is the recipe. Just make a consistent effort, over a long enough period of time, and you'll get where you're going, where you want to be. Like they say, the journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a single step. And starting is always the hardest part. Squirrel Sniper says, I fell 40 feet 16 years ago. Oh my god, that sounds very scary. Glad that you are still with us. How do you get backspin on chipping shots around the green? Great question, Jakes. So basically what you need is a combination of speed and not a lot of compression, right? Imagine if you're, I think I saw Wesley Bryan talking about this, or it might have been Ben Haddon, saying, you know, if you had a beach ball, right, at a concert and you wanted to get a lot of backspin on it, right, you would kind of open your hand and with a lot of speed, you know, cut down and across it, right? So you don't want to make a lot of, you know, compression, but you do need speed. And so we want that ball on the club face as long as possible. And the best way that I know how to describe what works for me, like if I really need to hit a spinny one, you know, to a short-sided flag or, you know, it's just what the shot calls for, right? What I try to feel is like a powerful, not powerful, like I'm putting some energy into the backswing, and then I almost just let the club like decelerate and slide under it, right? I'm not actually decelerating, but you're just kind of trying to control the distance while still getting a bunch of that, you know, speed and spin into the golf ball. Right? So something like that. You know, if you go on YouTube and watch Wesley Bryan chip around the green, you know, watch the Bryan Bros. He has a really, really excellent technique for those spinny shots around the green. GS Fishing, how do I stop topping the ball? So, great question. Did Squirrel Sniper already help you out? Keep head down. Yeah, that definitely can help. Hey, Clicks is here. Let's try to get 35 likes on the stream. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that, Clicks. Keep gassing us up. So if you're topping it, right, all that's happening is that the low point of your swing is too far in front of the ball, right? You're hitting the top of it, not the back, right, the way we want to. So what I would have you do is, like Squirrel Sniper said, you know, make sure you're keeping your eyes on the ball all the way past impact, which isn't the same necessarily as like keeping your head still, because your head does move a fair amount during the golf swing, right? Trying to keep your head still, like in the same exact position, is not good advice. But you do need to maintain your focus on the golf ball, right? But what I would tell you to do is just start chipping some balls. You know, I have an 8-iron here. I might try to hit this 40 yards in the air, 30 yards, right? Very, very slow, small swings. But you would want to practice making a divot, you know, hitting the ball and then the turf, right? So you want to feel that divot after impact. I'll tell you, if you can hit, 10 in a row and make a divot at that speed, right, you're not going to top it for very long. So that's the skill, controlling the low point of the swing. That's what you need to work on. Matthew, do you feel like you were trying to skip a rock on your downswing? I'll tell you, I've heard that feel a bunch, and it never resonated for me personally. I think for a lot of people, trying to feel, because we're bent over and the swing is, the plane is on an angle, right? It's helpful for people to feel that, just kind of rotating around your spine, and that is kind of what the rock throwing example is trying to get you to do. I'll tell you, Matthew, it never resonated with me, honestly. I've skipped plenty of rocks in my day, and never once did I feel like that was similar to how my golf swing was working. Hey, Harry said hi. What's up, Harry? Head lifts up, so does the shoulders, arms, and hands, and the club. Exactly. Click says, I have to go. Have a good day. Thanks, Clicks. I appreciate you being here. Activity Asher said, driving. Are you driving currently? Don't text and drive. Or is your question about driving? Tell me more. When do you need to twist the right leg when hitting? I don't know if the right leg twists. I suppose you're saying this, the knee does get going this way, right? I would say that's kind of after impact, right? Then the foot comes up. Although that is, how you generate speed and your own athletic context is going to be totally different, right? Somebody like Tony Finau, right? His foot stays on the ground really late, right? And then just comes up, at the end. somebody like Justin Thomas, right? He's up on his back foot, you know, before he's halfway done with the backswing, or the downswing, excuse me, right? So he's like up like this coming into impact, right? Whereas Tony's like this. They're both great ball strikers. So, you know, again, there's a wide range of possibilities. It's more about matchups. You know, what else is happening in your golf swing? You know, and if you sequence those things right, then you can obviously hit great golf shots. How do you golf with that many tattoos? Well, you know, it's a good question. They do kind of weigh me down. Like, I think if I didn't have them, you know, I would be lighter on my feet. Maybe I would hit the ball further. But no, I golf just fine with all these tattoos. This is a silly question. Hey, Grant's in here. What's up, John? Moss says, I feel like my front hip moves my forward in the backswing, then I'm on my toes as I swing. Yeah, so that can be a pretty common, you know, early extension type of thing, right? If you're getting into the ball this way, right? I did a lot of that for a long time in my own swing, so I've spent a ton of time trying to understand, you know, how to fix it, what causes it. And for me, the biggest thing was, you know, my takeaway was really inside, so I was steep, right? So then I was trying to get the club, you know, back on plane by going like this, right? So I fixed that by giving myself more width in the takeaway, and then really giving myself like a full pause at the top of the swing, right? Giving myself the time and the space to let this club fall in here, right? Because a lot of early extension is caused by just throwing the club from the top. Like, you're so excited to hit it, you're just like, all right, time to go. Let's throw the club and go hit it. You really need to feel like a little pause and try to feel like almost a swing starts when the club gets to your hip. If you ever seen the Bryson drill where, you know, he'll make a backswing and he drops his hands to here and then he hits it, that's kind of what you want to feel. And that can really help a lot with getting this left hip going backwards, right? We don't want it going forwards. We want to create space for this club to work through. Activity says how to drive better. So my best driver tip, I was just talking about this earlier, you have to swing at speed where you are confident you know where the ball is going to go, right? So when you're practicing, you know, swing at 100%, swing it as hard as you can, try to build up your speed. When you're on the golf course, you've got to swing at, you know, 80, 85% and know consistently that you can hit that ball solidly. It's going to fly pretty straight towards your target, right, in a you know, manageable dispersion. You know, swing at full speed doesn't do you any good if you're hitting it out of bounds or in hazards. Stealth said hi. Hey, Stealth. Nahir, any tips on weight transfer? If I suck on transferring, can I still have good iron shots? And then Grant said, what is your live stream schedule? Good question. I don't think there really is a schedule, but it sounds like that might be a thing we need. We might have to start scheduling these more in advance if people are excited to join them. Okay, so Nihar, any tips on weight transfer? Yes. We were talking about this a second ago. Drop your club, right? Practice weight transfer without a golf club, just, you know, standing, right? And what you're going to do is make a backswing and just practice the weight transfer, right? Getting to where you can, you know, almost get that foot off the ground, right? Because you've transferred all that weight into this front side. A good way to practice it is, you know, letting the front foot come up a little bit and then feel like you're pushing it back into the ground, right? Transfer your weight kind of from, you know, here where it's stacked in the backswing, right? To back in this left heel, and then you can turn and rotate through. Sensum, oh my goodness, Tend. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's so very nice of you, Sensum. I appreciate that. Hello again, John. There's often a lot of focus on the right elbow being tucked in and folding on the backswing. What about the folding action of the left arm in the through swing? Great question, Sensum, and I really, really appreciate your super chat. That's so nice. So what Sensum is asking about, guys, you know, if you ever seen like the Ben Hogan video where he's giving a lesson, right, and he talks about, you know, this right elbow kind of driving the downswing so that the club stays, you know, in the slot, right, and then you can turn and hit it. But what you're asking about is kind of this, how we get to this finish position, right, where the left arm is now tucked. What I would tell you, Sensum, is that these are mostly byproducts, right, of you know, keeping the club on plane and sequencing the club correct, or the swing, sequencing this correctly. For a guy that used to have a lisp, that was pretty tough, but we got through it. So I think if you are, maintaining the width throughout the swing, right, both in the backswing, keeping it on plane, and then fully following through, right? So there's no fold at this point. I'm not really folding until like this, the last half of the follow through. And what I would mostly tell you is that the ball's gone by then. If you feel like you are chicken winging it into impact, right, that could be a different, kind of issue, right? Not, maintaining that into the hit, right? Some people will get like this and then the face is open and it's really hard to control impact. Not impossible, right? Lee Westwood, his swing looked very much like that, with that bent left elbow and impact. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Send some. Let me know if questions. Just drop them in the chat. We can chat more about it. Grant said daily streams. Should I do daily streams? You guys want daily streams? You guys tell me. I would be happy to do this every day. Weather permitting. Ludovicus said, yes, please. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. You guys share the stream and, keep subscribing, keep liking, telling your friends about it. And we keep getting the growth. We'll be doing all kinds of cool stuff. Right? I think the next goal is going to be that, like, 10K subscriber level where we can start to ramp things up and hopefully start, finding good partners to team up with, do some sponsorship type stuff, right? So I can have more time to focus on making content in golf. I think, when I first started, I was like, oh, let's just start doing this and see where it goes. But I've been doing it long enough now, and I think we've had enough support and traction and people saying like, you're kind of good at this. You can, obviously I'm trying to get better every time I come on or make a new video, but there's been enough traction where I think it could be like, this is a thing that I could do and have a lot of fun with and try to make, some portion of my living, pay some of my bills this way. That's still months and months away, I assume, right? But, I think if that's where I want to go with it, then why not say that, right? Say that's the goal. The goal is, get to a point where I can make enough content and have enough support and build an audience where I can, pay a lot of my bills, and try to generate, make my lifestyle work around doing this. So, if you guys are here, you're part of the process, right? We are very early in doing this. It's going to take a lot of, consistent hard work to get there. But, I think saying that is the goal is one of the steps in the process, right? Telling yourself where you want to get to. Shelly said hi. Hey, Shelly. Hi on life. Can I get some iron tips? Definitely. All right, so iron tips. My best tip for iron, some of you guys will have heard this before, right? But work on your impact position. Practice how you deliver the club into the ball so that you can consistently hit the center of the club face, both laterally and vertically, right? And to do that, you're going to make a bunch of swings, a whole bunch, at really slow speed, right? So I have this as a pitching wedge. Instead of trying to hit it, 140 yards, I'm going to try to hit it 30 yards in the air, right? And I'm just going to make a little chippy pitch swing, but I'm going to really practice hitting the ball first and then the turf, and trying to make sure that my strike is right in the center of the club. And this is a great drill for everyone, if it's your first time picking up a golf club, or if you've been, if you're a plus handicap and you've been playing for decades, right? Impact is so important. And it's a skill, right? It's a technique. It's not just, a thing that you can practice with a big, full, long swing, right? You can improve your technique drastically by really slowing it down. Building your skills, right? Build that skill of impact and striking the ball solidly. Sensum says, yes, makes sense, but I find myself dragging the left arm through straight. It doesn't chicken wing, but it does disconnect from the upper body. P.S. the amount is in GBP. Oh, very cool. How many more subs till 3,000? Good question. I don't know. Is Squirrel Sniper still in here? Or you know what? I could probably pull it up on my other screen in a second. I totally get what you're saying, Sensum. So what I would have you do is grab a towel like this, right? And we're going to do the towel drill together. You're going to tuck this under your armpits, right? And this is going to force you to maintain that connection, right? So you're saying, I have the left arm straight, but it's kind of like, like a block finish, right? I'm just holding it instead of really releasing it and taking advantage of all the speed that can be created there, right? Well, if you're fighting that connection, keep this towel, tucked under your arms, both in the backswing and the through swing, especially, right? And this will force you to continue turning, but also, learn how to release it while you do that. So you can definitely do both, right? Turn, release, and turn. And see, I've maintained the connection. I didn't lose the towel at all. Gerald says, dude looks like a coloring book. That's hilarious you say that, Gerald, because some of my best friends in the world call me that. And I love them dearly. So, yeah, sure, sometimes I do. 20-ish more subs. Oh, very cool. That's incredible, guys. Shout out to you guys. Have you heard anything about Rapsodo launch monitor? So I have. I definitely have heard about it. I actually have the first one, the MLM1, but I don't think it works great with the net, and I obviously use my phone for streaming. So I've honestly not used it all that much, but I think Rapsodo, like the MLM2 Pro, would be like a dream sponsor for me, right? It's a perfect setup out here to have one, get some good data. I don't have the budget right now to spend $700 on a launch monitor, unfortunately. So I would love for Rapsodo to get in here and sponsor the channel. I've seen a lot of videos. I've actually done a lot of research about this, that the MLM2 Pro is like within 1% of a $10,000 or $20,000 launch monitor. It's supposed to be really, really good for the price. But I will say I've not hit balls on an MLM2 Pro. And also, when I got it to work, my MLM1 was really good. I liked that it had like the video replay of your swing. I thought the data was pretty good, pretty consistent. I don't know why I didn't use it more. Leor said hi. Hey, Leor. Grant said, awesome, thank you. You're welcome. I appreciate your comment, your question. Hanging out here on the stream a little. That was a little high on the face. For me, I've also been working on my posture, right? Trying to make sure I don't get too this way. I tend to get a little bit, like rounded with my posture. Trying to really feel pretty like a nice straight line all the way from the base of my neck down to my tailbone. That also will help kind of keep everything out of this box so we're not early extending as much. That swing felt really good. Let's watch that one back on video. Ludovicus said, I gotta go. Thanks for the class. I appreciate you being here. Steven wants to know, what net is that? Great question, Steven. This is a Net Return Pro. If you want to learn more about Net Return, click the link in the description of the live stream. And there's a code there, too. If like, hey, I really need one of these for my house. I'm tired of spending $20 for a bucket of crap range balls like I was like, I just can't keep spending, $20 to $40 every time I want to hit balls. In the long run, what's a way to do that more efficiently? Well, this is certainly a premium price. I think it was $700 for the net. But I'm going to have this thing for a decade. I can hit balls out here every single day, as many as I want. So they are, I'll share with you guys, Net Return is the only brand that I've done any like affiliate stuff with, any branding, right? So 10% off with that code that's in the description, because I really believe in the product. I really think it's something that I'll have for 10 years. Like I can hit balls into here for a decade. All the rest of this stuff will wear out before my Net Return does. Hello, doggy. Hi. What are you guys doing? Do you want to say hi? You want to say hi to the people? Say hi, doggos. Say hi, doggos. Hi. Oh, you need some attention? Hi, buddy. Hi. Oh, your sister says, no, not just for you. Hi. You smiling for the people. Say hi. Say hi. Hi. Somebody the other day was saying we should, I should make branded dog bandanas as merch. That could be pretty cool. Yeah, because you guys are superstars on the stream, aren't you? The people love the doggos. Yeah, look at that smile. The people love the doggos. Yeah. Yeah. What's not to like? What's not to like? The only thing is, you say, I'm coming to help practice, but you actually just distract me from practicing. He says, I know, Dad. I'm going to keep doing it, too. I know. I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah. You happy guy? Dad's got to stay hydrated. Activity said, you're nice. Should I start live streaming on my channel? Go for it, Grant. Why not? Justin said, hi, dogs. Shout out to Justin. When using a driver, if I keep my feet in the same line, the ball slices right after 150-ish yards. When I move my right foot back, halfway back compared to my front foot, the balls go straight. How do I fix it? Well, so what you're telling me is that, well, number one, if you found a setup that allows you to hit the ball straight, don't be afraid to, nothing says your feet have to be in a straight line. You can set up like this. You can set up like this. Go check out Rocco Mediate on Instagram. He does a really cool Instagram. His setup is like that every single swing with his right foot dropped way back. You might remember him from the 2008 U.S. Open where he nearly defeated Tiger Woods in that 18-hole playoff. Everybody just remembers the expect anything different putt, but Rocco played some unbelievable golf that week. Really good player. But what you're telling me basically is that by dropping that foot back, you're able to get the path more neutral, whereas when you're up here, the path shifts too far to the left, and it causes that ball to slice, right? So try to understand why that is in your own swing, right? Or said another way, how can I make the swing that I like this, and then move it up, here, if you feel really strongly about the need to do that, which, by the way, like I said, if you found a way to hit the ball straight, just go with it. Just hit the ball straight. Again, this is a totally fine way. A lot of people do this, right? Tiger's talked about when he wants to really hit a draw, he'll drop his right foot back, right? Because it really helps shift that path more out to the right. So, gotta try. DR, my lower back is killing me. Seems to be the right side. I'm right-handed. I'm a 5 handicap. Leor, because you've adapted your body line. Oh, activity said check the audio again. How's that? Check, check, check. Leor, because you've adapted your body line. Oh, activity said check the audio again. How's that? Check, check, check. Seems okay. Okay, so DR. My guess is, or you swing more into out, you won't slice. Yeah, exactly, Chase. Well said. Okay, so if my guess is, as someone who's dealt with this a bunch, and if you watch Will Zalatoris, right, beautiful looking golf swing, but when you dial into it and you go slow speed, he has a lot of extension, right, early extension and side bend in his swing, and it puts a lot of pressure on your lower back, right? Your lumbar is, they're not really meant to tilt, right, side to side. They're supposed to be pretty stable in a straight line. That's why they say, your thoracic, your upper back is much better at rotating. But if you have a lot of extension like this in your swing, right, a lot of side bend, well, think about you're really asking a lot of your lower back here to tilt and bend and compress, right? So your hip and your lower back are compressing together, right, to get in that position, and it puts a lot of pressure in that area. So that's why at the beginning of this year, said, okay, I need to do something different in my swing. My swing used to be very much like that, right? I had a lot of, high hands, and then I would just extend and lean, right, and get under it this way. And you can hit okay golf shots that way, right? You push the handle way forward, de-loft it. But I knew that I just wasn't going to be able to swing that way for another 30 years, right? So I've spent a lot of time trying to get more rotational in my swing, especially my downswing, right? So having more, less extension, right, and more kind of just rotation around my spine. My guess is, DR, that's a bit of what's going on, maybe. Hey, Baby Shot said hi. What's up, Baby Shot? Leor, thank you. Just looking for a more consistent setup since my back is tough to get in the same place every time. And Paxton said hi. Hey, Paxton. Okay, so we can just, one way to practice it could be to give yourself some checkpoints, right? If you're saying like, okay, sometimes it's way too far back, sometimes it's not enough. You could, say you're on the range, you're practicing, right? Do some experiments. How far do you have to go before you start hitting it straight, right? At what point do you start slicing it by moving, shifting the path and the body too far to the left, right? And then if you find like, okay, it's maybe, call it this position, the one I'm in right now, and that's where I can really, deliver a good strike on the ball. Well, you could just go like this, right? And say, okay, it's about, 2 golf balls, 1.5 golf balls, right? And then what you could do is, measure that and just mark it off. You could, on a mat, with a Sharpie or a tee, right? Give yourself a barometer, a place to practice to say, okay, that's the position I want to get to, right? And then you can just consistently, set up in the same position. And over time, it'll start to feel very natural, right? It'll just be like, oh, this is how I set up to it. But just like anything, don't be afraid to, experiment. Give yourself, little games. Baby Shot said, hello, superstar. Thanks very much. I appreciate you guys being here. Really nice to have the tent set up now to be able to, beat the heat, stay out of the sun. This is one of my favorite at-home investments that I've made. This was only $99. This net, or this, the net was more than that, but the shelter. That swing felt pretty good. Let's see how that one looked. I like that swing a lot. Leora, great advice. I'll try it out the range today. Awesome. Good luck out there at the range. Do you have a grass range, or is it off of artificial turf? I love a nice grass range. One of my favorite videos all year was that the warm-up from the international member guest. Really great practice facility over there. So just trying to keep the posture nice and clean. Yeah, it looks nice. Looks good and balanced. Why can't I close the face on my drive? Good question, Riley. There's a lot of reasons why it could be. I would make sure that your grip is, strong enough, right? If you have a really, really weak grip, say, your back of your hand is facing the ground, right? You're gonna have a really hard time getting that face to turn over, right? Whereas if you have a stronger grip, it'll be much easier, even just, biomechanically, right? From that position for your be able to close the face. So I would start there, make sure that you have enough strength in your grip to control the club face. And from there, right, if you're saying, no, that's not the problem, I just, there's something in my downswing, or I'm just not able to get the face closed, give yourself a task orientation. Give yourself, instead of, worrying about the mechanics, right, use your own, your brain and your athletic ability, and tell yourself, okay, I'm going to set up, like I'm going to hit it, right down the center of the fairway. But what I'm going to force myself to do is hit it in the left trees, right? I'm going to hit a big old gnarly hook. I'm going to get the ball going way, way over there to the left, okay? And just give yourself a task orientation, and you will force yourself to close that club face, right? And from there, then it's just a matter of dialing in, how much do you need to do that? Can you feel like you're swinging it to the left center field and hit a straight ball? But just give yourself a task orientation and really force yourself to get that ball going over to the left. What are you hitting? This is an 8-iron. Good question, Yo-Yo. Leor says, I've got both nearby, but grass can't be beat. Help my stance for driver, please. Can't draw. So John, we were just talking about this actually. You know, if you want to see that ball drawing more with driver, don't be afraid to drop this right foot back some, right? That's going to help shift that path out to the right. And if you can get the face square closed a little bit, you should see that ball start to draw. Do you stroke and use grip in other ways as well? Just on the golf course. My face doesn't close and I'm hitting a pretty negative angle of attack. Grip strong. Asking for a friend. What do you call a blonde doing a handstand? Riley, my friend, wants to know if you're single. I am not single. I'm a happily married man. Ken said hi. Hey, Ken. So it sounds like it's maybe steep then, Riley. If you're saying that grip isn't the problem, right? But I'm really, you know, steep, negative angle of attack, right? You could really be, you know, coming over it this way, steeply into the ball, right? And that could cause the ball, if the face is open, to really start slicing on you. So you could try exaggerating, right, this reverse figure eight, right, where the club head stays nice and wide. Great drill for this, guys, is this Nelly Corda takeaway drill. So use a second ball here. Set up to the first one. And then you're just going to practice rolling this ball straight back, right? That was even a little bit inside. And this is going to force you to have your takeaway be nice and wide, right? Straight back there, and boom. Wide takeaway. Room for the club to fall in here. And see if that doesn't help, Riley. That could definitely help get that club more shallow. I'm a lefty and have trouble with keeping my drives and, quite frankly, every shot straight with no fade. All right, so Thomas, this is going to come down to the club face, right? It's, you know, it doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed, but if your club face is open at impact, you're probably going to see that ball, you know, slice or fade, right? So you've got to get that club face more closed. So for you, setting up to it, you're telling me, hey, I just, you know, I'm trying to hit it straight down the center of the fairway and it's ending up in the left rough. Well, what I would tell you is, okay, aim down the center of the fairway and force yourself to hit it in the right rough. Like, teach yourself. You want to build this skill set. The skill is, can I control the club face and the path into the ball, right? That's how we hit draws and fades. That's how we control trajectory, right? So you got to learn, how do I get that club face closed, right? And try hitting some balls, like, truly into the right trees. Hit some big old hooks. Just learn what it feels like to get that club face closing and turning over. Yo-Yo said, what irons do you have? These are the Tacoma 301 CB irons. They're pretty good. I'm not convinced they are going to stay in the bag forever, but they've been good to try. How do I judge how hard I need to bump and run? Please help. Well, good question, Dieter. So it's going to be just practice, right? And the way I would practice this, what I do when I'm chipping practice is, you know, say you have a 10-yard chip shot and you're practicing a bump and run. So you want to get the ball going, you know, 20% of the way and have it roll the rest, right? So you're, you know, for a 10-yard shot, you need it to go 2 yards in the air and then roll the rest of the way. Well, you could, you know, step off 2 yards, right? Drop a tee down, put a tee in the ground, in the grass, on the green, right? And that's your target, right? Your target's not the hole. Your target is where am I trying to land it, right? And in this case, it'd be 2 yards in front of you. So you practice your bump and run shot, right? And your target would be the tee. So, you know, make sure that you have an understanding of, can I control the distance that I'm going to carry it, right? That's landing it near the tee. And then is the rollout consistent, right? Am I consistently delivering, you know, the right trajectory and impact into the shot so that it rolls a consistent amount? Drew said, sick tap, brother. Thanks very much, Drew. What blew my mind was you can have a closed club face and still fade it. Yeah, definitely. If the path is, you know, enough to the left. What QI10 do you have? Good question. This is the QI10 Max, right? The extra forgiving one. And what I did was I got a 9-degree head and lofted it down to 7 degrees. So all the way lower, right? So I'm playing, you know, 7 degrees of static loft to keep the face open and, you know, keep the spin down. But when I tested these on TrackMan, I tested the Max and the Core QI10 heads. And this one was much straighter. I mean, the ball speed is and the club head speed is going to be lower because of the way this hosel works is about a ½ inch shorter. So the playing length of the driver is actually, you know, shorter. So we lose a little bit of club head speed there, but it's just so forgiving on mishits. And it's the straightest driver that I've ever hit personally. It just like wants to go straight. It feels very hard to hit it offline when I make a good swing. And it didn't, for me, have a bunch of spin, right? What I was afraid of was like, are the good strikes going to still be 27, 2800 on TrackMan of spin? And they weren't. They were perfect. They were 21, 2200. And I have been very, very impressed. It's not the most attractive driver to look down at, right? It's a very big footprint. But over time, I've come to actually, feel like it gives me some confidence, right? It's just a big profile. And the same, I pulled this shaft after the face on the Stealth broke, right? If you guys have been watching the channel for a long time, you remember that when the face fully cracked on our Stealth driver. So I just pulled the shaft out of that one. This is the Oban Kiyoshi purple shaft. Dieter, is there a way to figure out my club distances without a launch monitor? Yeah, so the old-fashioned way, right, would be, you could go to the golf course or a driving range, and they give, on the golf course, there might be like a red plate around 100 yards and a white one at 150, right, or, different yardage markers. On sprinkler heads or otherwise, you could find, once right, okay, I'm 150 yards from the hole. And you could drop a couple balls and hit, some 9 irons, some 8 irons, and see which one of these is, going to go that distance, right, when I make a good strike. And just figure out in real time, okay, if I'm at 150 and I make a good strike with an 8 iron, it goes about 150, right? And understand that you're aiming a cone, right, a big dispersion, not a rifle, right? So it's always going to be kind of long left to short right for a right-handed player. But what you want is like, what is my average, a good strike with each club? How far is that going to carry, go in the air? If I have a super flex shaft and I'm hitting the ball 260, 270 in the air, but fading it a tad, would it be worth it to get a new stiffer shaft or just a new driver altogether, not trying to spend a lot? Good question, Thomas. So I would tell you the only real way to know for sure is to do a fitting. And unfortunately, that's going to be expensive, right? It'll probably be, $100, $200 for the fitting, and then, the driver is going to be, $500 to $800 after that. Right, so you're talking about $1,000 for a new driver. That's a big investment for a lot of people. I would tell you if you're already hitting it 270 in the air, there's probably easier ways than chasing equipment to straighten it out, right? You could, deliver the club half a degree more close at impact, and it would go straight in the air, right? But if you can hit it 270 in the air in a pretty straight line, even if it is fading some, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Driver's woods are funny because we'll get irons adjusted for loft and lie independently, but driver woods, they're interlinked when adjusted. Yeah, it is a good point. Ready Up said hi. Hey, Ready Up. Yo-Yo says, I'm hitting a Ping G30. I have the Callaway Wilbird set. Very cool. What is something you would never pay full price for in golf? Great question. I think, honestly, most equipment. Like, I buy equipment that's, 1 to 2 cycles old, pretty much exclusively, because this QI10 driver was really good years ago when they released it, and maybe they made like a tiny improvement, but it was like, 80% off compared to what a QI35 would cost, right? Things that I think are worth spending money on as you get to be a better golfer, if you're playing tournaments, right? Spend money on golf balls. Golf balls are, they wear out. Refurbished golf balls are garbage. We know that now. Apparel. You can get really good, gently used apparel, like on eBay or otherwise. If you're like, hey, I'm new to golf, I want some golf polos and shorts. But like, hey, a new polo is $85 to $125. Like, what's the deal? Well, there's lots of gently used stuff out there that you can find that's perfectly good. So yeah, I think, I have found ways over the years to do lots of practice and get new equipment and not really spend a ton of money at full price. Just hitting some sand wedges now, trying to, work on some shots that I Didn't feel I hit super well the last time I was out playing golf. Catch up on the chat here quickly. Hit some balls. Is the QI35 a good driver? Because I had to trade in my Stealth because it broke and they gave me the QI35. Yeah, I think it's good. I'm sure it's really good. I do have a QI35 7-wood that I got a really good deal on. So that one is new. Yeah, I'm sure it's really good. I just don't think it's going to be, call it, you know, $400 to $500 better than last year's model. But if they sent you one, I'm sure it's good. I wish that had happened. When my Stealth broke, I missed the warranty window by like 2 months, I think. Would have been cool if TaylorMade had still sent me a new driver, but, you know, rules are rules. If you guys have questions, if there's stuff you're working on in your golf swing, you know, if you're slicing it, need some help, just drop a comment. And, you know, in between my own practice, we'll explain some drills, some stuff that's going on. Hello, puppy. Hello, you being crazy? Yeah, you chasing your brother around? There he is. Go get him. I think a range caddy's maybe coming up next for over here. Something to keep all our golf balls in. What? Really trying to feel like this wedge swing is nice and compact. Ready Up said I got it for free. Yo-Yo said, what's your handicap? Usually around 0. Recently it's been more like 2. Unfortunately, it's been going the wrong way. Yeah, I like how nice and compact that backswing is. How do I create a more effortless swing? I feel like it's hard work. I don't know if I have a good answer to that, to be honest with you, DR. I don't feel like my swing is particularly effortless or feels that way. It feels like hard work for me, too. I found out if you bought your driver in, it hasn't been 2 years yet, then you could trade it in and get a brand new one. Yes, that is typically how it works. What's the arm position you're supposed to have when you swing? Well, good question. It can definitely matter, or depend, right? You know, some players have like an elbow that's out here. Some people is more tucked in here, right? It's all going to be dependent on the matchups in your own swing. You know, how does your body move? You know, how do you deliver the club into impact and try to keep the face square? But generally speaking, what you'll see is when we swing the club on a wide arc to generate speed, right, this left arm stays very straight, right, while the right arm folds, and then it stays kind of in this position all the way through to impact, right, where that right elbow stays inside here. So wide and then shallows in here, right? Left arm is still straight at impact. And then as we follow through, right, the right arm will extend, and the left arm starts to fold into the follow through. So that's kind of the, you know, the sequence of it. But again, remember that the goal is to keep this club wide. And that will, you know, the left arm being straight is more a byproduct of that. That's the benefit of the net return right there, guys. I can't get it to work all the time, but a lot of times it does just, that ball will pop right back to you. You know, I'm sure if I really set it up a little better, I could use just one golf ball out here. A lot of honking over there. Whew. Primal says, tips on weight shift, I seem to chunk a lot. Well, you've definitely identified, what's maybe causing the issue. So the weight shift is very important, right, for maintaining, getting that low point where we want. I'm going to do a quick demonstration to borrow from like the mini mart video, if you guys have ever seen that one, right? But imagine, I make a backswing and my weight stays on my backside, right back here. I'm going to hit the ground before the ball, like you just described, right? If I make a backswing and my weight stays in the center, well, I can get back to the ball, right? I can hit it, but I'm going to kind of scoop it. It's not going to be able to go very far. But if I make a swing and I get my weight forward, well, now I'm really in business, right? I can deliver a lot of force into that shot. So to do that, right, I like to practice this independently of the golf swing. So just practice, boom, making that weight shift to start the downswing. So it's got to be backswing, weight shift, and hit it. Right? So you can practice this independently of the golf swing. Don't worry about hitting the ball, doing it at full speed. Just practice that, boom, and go. Right? And then you're just trying to replicate that feeling when you do get to hit balls. And you can slow it down and just go, backswing, little backswing, weight shift, and hit it. And just go slow. Really feel the different, pieces of that sequence. But again, don't be afraid to work on this away from the golf swing, right? Backswing, weight shift, boom. That's one big reason why I let my left heel come up just slightly, right? It really helps me sequence and feel that weight shift, boom. Left heel goes back down, weight gets going here, then I can hit it. I play baseball, and when I swing, I usually always top it, and it hooks or slices. So again, I would tell you slow the swing down, right? Really get to a point where you can make some swings and hit shots and not top it, right? You got to control that low point, and doing it at slow speed is going to be the best way to improve that technique, right? Because if you're trying to do it at full speed and you're, got everything going as fast as you can, and you're gonna, keep topping it. From there, right, again, when you're slowing the swing down, you want to make sure that you are practicing, you want to see that ball fly very straight through the air, right? Because we're practicing keeping that club face square. The hook and the slice is going to be because of the face not being where you want it to be. I'm a 20 handicap, play 3 times a year. This year I'm hitting the ball off the toe. Solid, but it's right at the target with a slight fade. Thought for range tips. Yeah, so I'll tell you, Krevin, if you're playing 3 times a year, it's going to be really difficult to expect any kind of consistent results in your golf swing, which is fine, right? If you're saying, like, that's all I have time for, that's all I'm interested in doing, no big deal. If your strike is out on the toe, right, what I would tell you to do, work on the range, is practice hitting it out of the heel. Tell yourself, okay, if let's say my normal setup is causing the ball to be out on the toe, right? Well, then in my swing, or my intention needs to be to hit it on the heel. I need to try to intentionally move my strike pattern further towards the heel, right? By trying to strike the heel, I'm more than likely going to actually strike it in the center. So you would need to just practice repeatedly, right? How can I move my strike pattern more towards the heel, right? It might be, stand closer to it. It might be getting the face more open. Right? Like I'm doing now. I'm intentionally trying to hit the heel, and most of them are still ended up, pretty damn close to the center of the face. Because my strike pattern, similarly, tends to be more towards the toe. I feel like there's no time to do that. In my swing, I have fast tempo. Thanks. Well, you can do all these things with a fast tempo, DR. What thing specifically are you saying you have a hard time doing? Because tempo is another thing that you can practice, right? You know, my tempo is very fast as well. Like my on-course swing is often, you know, pretty compact and just like a 1-2. It's kind of what I feel. But you can still have good tempo with a fast tempo. It's more about, you know, giving yourself time at the top to let the club transition. And you can practice that, right? Those freezer drills. You really, you know, let the club hang up there. Again, you're not trying to have, you know, your swing look like the drill. You're just trying to, you know, build those feels in so that when you do get to the golf course and make your regular swing, you know, you've adjusted it a tiny fractional amount. Really pleased with the new setup, guys. I mean, it's a very hot day here. Got great shade. Stayed pretty cool under here with our new tent. Primal said thanks. Interesting, thanks. When do you extend the right knee on the downswing? I said thanks for giving me the advice on my weight shift problem. Oh, you're welcome. DR, I might do it too early. When do you extend the right knee? It's kind of after impact, I think. I mean, I don't really feel like my right knee is extending much at all. It's kind of, you know, staying flexed and then driving, you know, in as my hips rotate, right? But it's more like my left hip is pulling everything with it. I don't consciously feel, you know, much of anything in my right knee per se. There it is, net return. All right, so I'm pretty happy with how I've been swinging this club. This is a sand wedge, and all I've been working on, guys, is just making consistent center of the face contact. You know, again, for me, my miss tends to be out on the toe, so trying to work on hitting the center of the face as consistently as I can. Like you can see, I'm not doing that at full speed. Just making these little chippy ones, trying to stay nice and balanced. Practice the skill, delivering that club consistently into the ball. Right? That's what we're going for. Oh, left knee, sorry. Yeah, so I think it's about halfway down, right? So, you know, as you kind of are pushing into the ground and rotating, right? And then it's kind of an up, down, and then back up type of feel is how I would describe it. How important is the mental game in golf? I would say it's, you know, 60 to 70% of, you know, what separates good players. It's very, very important. Hi, I have a hard time making the ball stop on the green even with my wedge. What should I do? Good question, Alex. So, you know, I'd make sure, number one, that you are launching it appropriately, right? Do you have enough height on your wedge shots, right? If you're hitting them very low or de-lofting them too much, right, you're not going to be able to stop it even with a bunch of spin. So make sure that you are, you know, delivering a nice strike out of the center of the face and the ball's, you know, coming out of a good window, right? You should see your wedges flying decently high through the air. B the boat says golf tech for free. Yeah, something like that, right? Just trying to help people out, you know, share my own process while I'm getting better. Do you lock out your right knee completely? No, I definitely don't. I try to feel like there's some flex still, right? You're going to lose some flex, right, as we turn, but it doesn't ever get fully kind of locked out. It keeps some knee bend here. What's my golf experience? Good question. I've played competitive golf basically since high school, you know, and I'm in my early 30s now. So high school, college golf, you know, state level amateur golf. You know, I played in like regional team events. You know, like with different clubs that I've been a member of. You know, almost won a couple club championships. So yeah, I've played off of, you know, low single digit index for like the last 10 years or so. You know, the last 3 or 4 years it was between +1 and 0 most of the time, and this year's gone up more like 2, which is okay. You know, been working on a bunch of stuff, changing some stuff, working on the swing, and it doesn't always translate to better scores right away. So, you know, still documenting the journey, right? I started as a +1, now I'm at 2 something. Sean O'Malley playing golf now, that's funny. Favorite golf grips and iron shafts? Good question, DR. My favorite shafts, the ones that I've had in my irons for a long time now, these are C-Taper shafts from KBS. These are the C-Taper 125 gram S Plus, I think. These are in between S and X. Really big fan of these. I love the feel. Just super, super stable. You know, it's easy to keep the flight down. Right, for me, I'm often trying to, you know, flight my iron shots. I really like these for that. As far as grips, I've got these pretty simple, you know, Golf Pride Tour Velvet grips on here, but mine are jumbo size, if you can see that. And I also have, when I put them on, I put some extra tape, 2 extra wraps on the bottom hand, so that there's not a lot of taper, right? This right hand is nearly, you know, feels the same as far as diameter as the top part. So it's a built-up jumbo-sized grip. And that was another thing, right? I never, you know, I'd always played standard grips my whole life until this year, and it has definitely, you know, been an adjustment, but the good shots are so much better. It's just when I don't commit to the swing that I'm making now is when I start to get in trouble. And someone was asking about the mental game earlier, right? Like I was saying, I played in a qualifier a week ago, and Nick Yates was asking me about it. And I was like, dude, I played, you know, 15, 16 awesome holes. And I just, you know, my brain went somewhere else for 2 holes. I made doubles, and, you know, that's the difference between making a cut and not. So, you know, even just making bogeys on those 2 holes would have been okay. But what I really struggle with, you know, what frustrates me is the mental errors, right? You know, hitting driver on holes that I have no business hitting driver on, you know, because I just kind of zoned out for a second, pulled the club, and then all of a sudden you're like, why did I make a 6 on an easy hole? All right, I wonder if we shouldn't do some speed training. That could be fun. Now that we're nice and warm, been swinging for a while now. Try getting our handy dandy PRGR launch monitor out. So what this does, guys, is it gives us some data about different swings, right? So on our last session, this was one of the better ones. You know, 114 miles an hour and 167, 168 at ball speed is where we topped out. Yeah, 168 was the highest we had in the last session. So this measures the speed of the club and the ball as they go by. All right, so we've got that. think this is going to need to move back. Well, no, I'm going to actually not hit it like this. Hit it like this. Yeah, it's going to be much easier to stand to it. Well, that'll get the top of it going. That's what happens when you really try to go at it. Luke said hi. Hey, Luke. Andrew said hi. Hey, Andrew. That was 107, 280. Yeah, I think it should be okay. I mean, I'd like not to do that again. One thing I was tiny bit worried about. So we might need to do the speed training out of cover. Let's see if this will still give us some numbers on. Said it's like an 8-iron. See what it tells us. No, it's just not going to be. It works really well with the driver. But it's going to be all over the place as far as smash factor goes. Like with an iron into a net. So unfortunately, guys, we're not going to get a lot of good data today. So we'll save our battery on that guy. Cam said hi. Cat Bert said that's a lot of tattoos. It sure is. Benjamin says shabalaba ding dong. I think I got that right. Bug-Eye Daryl wants to know, what net is that? Good question, Daryl. This is the Net Return Pro. It's the only piece of equipment that I have any sort of affiliation with. If you use the code in the description, get 10% off your net return purchase. And I have that set up because it is honestly one of the best products I've ever spent my own money on. It's built to last. I've already packed it up and had to rebuild it out here. You know, everything about it just tells me I'm going to be using this thing for the next decade. What I really want is to get Rapsodo in here to sponsor me with an MLM2 Pro. That was a good strike. Let's see these swings. These swings feel really good. Andrew says you should do a video on the setup. What would it be about, Andrew? What would I talk about? Just like, you know, the tent and the net return and everything. I could do that. That could be kind of cool. If you guys are enjoying hanging out and you haven't already hit that subscribe button for me, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button. It really does help us out. Man, these blisters are brutal. They just are so frustrating. Somebody's dog is really barking. I think the more compact backswing is going to be better for me. Type of net, the distance, the parameters, the whole setup, how it works. Yeah, that's a great point, Andrew. Yeah, that's maybe we will do that. So be on the lookout for a net setup. Disappointed that I've already torn the top of the tent, but that's all right. Nothing a little bit of duct tape can't fix. Had a feeling we were gonna maybe have an issue with the driver, depending on precisely where we were set up. Definitely no issues with an iron, but I think that was fractionally out of the toe again as well. I like those last two swings. Hey, Sina's here from Spain. What's up, Sina? ¿Cómo te va? Have you played any courses in San Fran area? San Francisco? No, I have not. I don't think so, anyway. Yeah, that was a good swing. San Francisco. No, I have visited San Francisco. My brother used to work there. Went out and visited him. Great sushi I remember having there in San Fran. But that was a long time ago. That was probably 8 years ago since I've been there. But I know they have some unbelievable golf there, like Olympic Club, where Colin Morikawa won his U.S. Open. Really trying to work on, again, just ball striking, contact. Trying to have that ball come out in the same window, right? It might be hard to see on the camera, but there's a post back there that I'm kind of aiming at with every shot, and I'm hoping to see everyone, you know, hitting right in line with that post. So lots of good stuff you can practice, even with just a net, right, guys? Cena says, I there most of the year, played Olympic Club last month for the first time, didn't like it too much. Oh, man. I'm going to start high school footwear. Should I do to hit it? Oh, high school golf. That makes way more sense. My favorite in the city was Presidio. Oh, I've heard of that. Very cool. Yeah, I'd love to play more golf. Other you know, parts of the country, other countries even. You know, I'd love to play more golf internationally. I played in Germany once, and I played in Canada. Those might be my only international golf experiences. Okay, so if you want to hit it further, is your question, Jensen. Here's what you got to do. Two options. Number one, make your engine bigger, right? So speed training, something like the stack or super speed like I have here. You know, lifting weights in the gym, explosive, you know, dynamic movements, right? You know, squats, deadlifts, you know, do box jumps, like anything you can do to create power this way, right? Things that are going to be relevant for our golf swing, right? As we, you know, push and try to generate power, right? That's option one. Option two is optimize the speed that you already do have, right? So make sure you can you know, get on TrackMan or a launch monitor and find out. But to optimize your current speed, what you want to do is make sure that you're launching the ball, you know, at like 14 to 18 degrees up into the air, right? With spin, you know, low spin, call it 2200 RPMs, low 2000 spin. And that's going to optimize the speed that you already do have, right? So ideally, you're doing some amount of both of these. You know, building your strength, building your club head speed, while also trying to optimize your launch. My favorite is probably the Wynn course in Vegas, top class. I have played that course, Sina. It is a very good one. Hey, Clicks is back. Clicks is one of our big supporters on the channel, always trying to get everybody to like. I think we're at 60 likes now, Clicks. Thanks to you. Andrew said plyometrics. Yeah, plyometrics is great. You know, push-ups, dips, whatever you can do to, you know, build some muscle, you know, make your engine bigger, right? You're trying to be able to generate more speed. Let me see, guys. Okay, we are 5 away. 5 away from 3K, guys. Jamie Off said hi. True North in Scottsdale. I've not played True North. Clicks said congrats on 60. Thanks, Clicks. Appreciate you guys. 5 more subs, guys, until 3K. Check it out. I just got an updated number. Oh, that's crazy. The last time I checked, we were at 2960. Now we're at 2995. If you guys want to be subscriber number 3000, now's your chance. Click says, let's try it for 75 likes on the stream. Incredible. I think we're up to 61 already. So headed there soon. Really striking it nicely recently, guys. I've been finding a lot of success just keeping it simple, trying to stay balanced. Watching a lot of like Jake Knapp and Fred Couples, just trying to feel that fluidity in the movement. You know, almost like there's a small pause at the top. That actually wasn't very well executed as far as what I was trying to feel. A little better. Definitely humid out here today, but obviously having all the shade is an incredible improvement from trying to stand out here in the heat. Oh, still towed it. That was better. Oh, this golf ball might be on its last legs, guys. Cracked one not too long ago. Yeah, look at this thing. We started wearing the cover off, quite literally. Hey, Joshua's here. Long time no see. What's up, Joshua? Cena says, I'm getting ready for my flight to Italy tomorrow. Rome and Sorrento, enjoy your golf today. Thanks very much, Cena. I'm in Rhode Island. Rhode Island, USA. Enjoy your trip to Italy tomorrow, my dude. That sounds awesome. My wife and I went to Italy last year. Did Rome and Naples and Florence and had an amazing time. Really like that. Just nice, simple, short, compact backswing. Yeah. Joshua says, I'm good. I'm thinking of becoming a pro golf and poker star. Okay, I like both those ideas. That sounds great. Would you do both of them at the same time, or would you like be a golf pro first? Ew, that was a toe one. Toey, toey, toey. I would settle for just golf, you know? If I could find a way to pay most of my bills doing this YouTube thing, that would be really awesome. You know, and you guys can help us do it, right? That's the cool part, is it's a team effort. Cena, what do you think of Tiger not taking divots? Can you try to flush them and give feedback on what you think? No, I think he was kidding when he said that. He was just messing around with Scotty, he said afterwards. So no, most good players take a divot after they strike the ball. Good one, Josh. Calvin wants to know, how I watched Happy Gilmore 2 yet? I have. I actually liked it, guys. I thought it was a really good, you know, homage to the original one. There were lots of nice throwbacks. I love the cameos. My favorite part, I will say, was probably the PGA guys, you know, Rory and Scotty and Bryson and their, you know, role in the movie. You know, I don't know who was expecting it to be like a plot-driven, you know, thriller movie that was like supposed to have this crazy plot to it, but I thought they really nailed it, honestly. That's about as good as I can hit it, and I'll tell you, those, I mean, there definitely would be a divot there, right? Another great drill, guys, if you're struggling with your sequencing, with your swing and your timing, right? Just make some lead arm only swings with a little step built in, right? You know, start out in front, lead arm only, step, and go. Really, really like this, guys, for, you know, sequencing. Really super hard to early extend when you swing this way, right? Because your body's going to want to naturally kind of sequence, especially when you add the step in, right? You'll feel this left hip stays back, pushes back that way. You know, that shallowing move that we all look for, right? It's going to happen kind of naturally, just as gravity pulls down on that club in transition. Let's hit some longer irons and see if we can't maintain that same nice, you know, strike and tempo. So here, I'll grab like a 6-iron. Try to hit some more good ones. Matt says, help me with my backswing. Well, what questions do you have about your backswing specifically, Matt? Tell me more. Better than expected, really good, and Calvin or Clicks agrees with Calvin. I agree. Took me back to simpler times. Wild Thing says, Sean O'Malley, what's up? You are not the first one to say that in the stream today. That's like the second or third Sean O'Malley comment we've got. Almost a 75 likes, chat. Keep it up. Amazing. Matt says, best way to get rid of shanks. I think you need another tattoo. Trucker, you're absolutely right. As you can see, this whole leg sleeve is in progress. We've done all the line work, and now we're working on shading. So I am actively being, acquiring more tattoos, you could say. You never know when a new tattoo is going to come. Sometimes the mood just strikes you. Okay, Matt, so if you're shanking it, right, all you're telling me is that really your strike pattern occasionally gets really in on the heel, right? You're presenting the heel a lot. It's occasionally getting even into the hosel, right? What I would tell you is to practice hitting it out of the toe, right? So get 10 balls. You're going to try to hit every single one of them out of the toe, right? So what you're working on here is moving that strike pattern around the face, right? So if you can, if you're trying to hit the center and your strike pattern is getting into the heel, while moving it intentionally out to the toe, it's going to end up more in the center, right? So just practice intentionally. Can you strike it on the toe? Can you strike it on the heel on command, right? That's the real test. Because if you can do that, then you can hit the center, right? So that was a toe strike. Now I'm going to hit a heel strike, right? And if I can do that, I should be able to hit it in the center, just like that, right? You can tell by the sound. The sound is going to be different. It's going to feel different in your hands. So the shank is really, guys, don't forget, it's just an exaggerated heel strike. So try moving it out to the toe. You would play golf to get the money for poker. Oh, yeah, you guys are good. Yeah, you'll get it figured out. Poker's awesome. I love playing poker. My brother often takes all my money. It might have been a tiny bit out of the toe. Nope, that was hit really good. Maybe a little steep. I think my backswing is too open. Well, I don't know exactly what an open backswing means. What's hard is keeping the face closed and not coming over the top and casting. I agree, Trucker. That is a big part of it. Let's take a look at this swing really quick. I love this because I can just go back. Yeah, that was solid right there. Just nice and compact. So again, guys, this will help both Trucker and Matt Pollock, right? So in the backswing, the first half of it, right, until the club gets to about parallel, right, you want to feel, if the club had eyeballs on it, right, imagine this club face had some googly eyes, and it was looking out from this club face, right, you want it to be pointed at the golf ball, right, all the way back to here. And then you just turn, but that will keep that club face square, right? So here, you want it pointed down some at this halfway back point, right, almost looking at the golf ball. That was not a good strike. That was a low heely one. That was better. Let's make sure we're staying hydrated here, guys. Joshua says, my handicap is now 24.7. How much time do you think until you need a new swinging mat? Great question, Clicks. Probably another couple months, I think. You know, I can keep moving the strike pad, you know, around where I'm hitting it from and use some different parts of the map. But yeah, probably till the end of the season, I think. It's probably not going to last much longer than that. How are the dogs doing? The dogs are great. Crazy as usual. I have a net and a Garmin R10. I'm getting a lesson once a week. I would be hitting balls right now, but I'm sore, have blisters in weird places, and the sun is out. That's funny. How's the R10? Tell me, trucker. What do you think of the Garmin R10? Because I've been trying to get Rapsodo to sponsor me and get an MLM2 Pro out here, but you know, I just want something that will work consistently with the net, give me good ball speed data. What's your handy? Currently, it's around 2. Usually I play off closer to 0, but we've posted some bad scores recently. It's going to happen. I like the R10, $400. Okay. What's a good budget driving club, my dude? Good question, Scott. You can get on eBay, you know, look for like a Sim or a Sim 2, or you know, a similar like a 4 to 5 year old Callaway or Cobra or Ping driver, and you can probably get one of those for maybe $100, $150, and you can really, you know, not lose out a whole bunch compared to the brand new stuff. That would be my best bet. You know, my best advice would be go look for something that's been gently used. Garmin R50 is out now. That one must be more expensive. Joshua says, I'm thinking of getting some tailor-made QI irons. Oh, those sound nice. I've been thinking also that my next set of irons might be something even more forgiving, like a T100 or whatever the AP2 equivalent is. I don't know what this new Titleist naming convention is, but I just want an AP2 kind of shape. Nope, towed it again, guys. Hello, Miss Lady. Did you come to say hi? Did you hear we were talking about you? You did? Oh, hi. Oh, hi. You trying to tackle me? You trying to tackle me? Hi. Oh, and your brother's here to say hi. Hi. Yeah, you guys are superstars on the stream, aren't you? Oh, hi. Hi. Oh, that's good kissing. That's good kissing. Hi. Hi. She says, I'm crazy girl. I'm a crazy girl. Hi. Yeah. What do you see, buddy? You guys being good? You guys being good? Yeah. Do you think we hit 3,000 subscribers yet, guys? Should we go check? So cute. How old are they? They are 3 and 5. We had the younger one since she was a puppy. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button for me, guys. We are very, very close to 3K. Little lady, you gonna help us practice? Is that what you're doing? Oh, all right. We don't need that dirt on our mat, do we? Come on, that was silly. Why do we need the dirt on the mat? Huh? That was silly. Oh, your brand new bandana is so dirty. So dirty. Oh, is that a good spot for that, sir? He doesn't care that we need that for golf ball hitting. He says, Dad, it seemed like as good a place as any. Nope, still occasionally just towing it like that, which is frustrating. Oh, silly me, thinking that would work. There we go. That's more out of the middle. That's what we're looking for. Oh, I love these dogs. I love all dogs. Who doesn't get excited when they see a dog? Audio is good. Thanks, M-Ice. Hey, Clicks said 75 likes. Congrats, John. Thanks very much, Clicks. That is super cool, guys. Thank you very much for 75 likes. We're going to keep it going for a few more minutes, hit some more shots, answer some more questions if people have golf swing questions. Kyle says, hey, John, looking good. Just getting started. The concept of hitting down on the ball with irons and wedges is a bit harder for me to grasp. When you're looking down on the ball, are you aiming in front? Good question, Kyle. It's definitely can be a tricky thing to get a good feel for. And to answer your question, no, I'm kind of looking right here at the back of the ball. Right, that's where I think my focus is largely. I have heard people say, that focusing on the front of the ball can help with this, right? If you tend to thin it or, don't make super solid contact all the time. But the best thing I would do to tell you, that I would tell you to practice, right, is just slow everything down and make sure that you're taking a divot, right? Make sure you hit that ball first and then the turf. Right? And you can do this at slow speed, build up that technique, build up, get comfortable feeling like you're hitting down on it. Right? Because remember, we have this angled face. We have to get this onto, the back of the ball. Imagine if this was like a half of a ball, right? And half of it was flat. And you were trying to hit the flat part with the flat part, right? But you need to get that handle forward, and also hitting down on it will help, right? To get onto the back of that ball. Buddy, what are you doing? You just moving dirt with your face? What? Look at you. You're a mess. Look at you. Come on. What are we doing? Go on. Go run. Go play. All right, guys. Let's run through a few more balls. Not last chance. What are your favorite golf brands? I personally like TaylorMade. Yeah, TaylorMade's probably my favorite brand. If I had to pick one company that I would want to sponsor me, it would be TaylorMade. I hit like -7 and -8 down on the ball and can't seem to lower it. Well, that seems like plenty. Pretty Penny said, why is he fine, though? Well, I've spent a lot of time working on my golf swing, so I appreciate that. Those are two really good strikes. I'm thrilled with those. We're going to go back and take a quick peek. See how these swings look on video. I feel like we might have lost our audio. Really good strikes. I'm thrilled. No, we didn't. Okay, still there. 75 likes on the stream, guys. Shout out to you guys. Very, very cool stuff. We're going to hit these last 5 or 6 balls and then call it a day for today's practice session / stream. Thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel. It's honestly unbelievable to think that we're coming up on 3,000 subs. That ball started well to the right. Certainly better. 75 likes, guys. You guys are nuts. Thank you very much for all the support. You know, like some of you guys were saying, I think we're going to try to do this kind of every day. Got some crazy dogs that probably need a walk pretty soon. That's probably a good one to end on, guys. Really good strike. Seems like the chat's winding down. We're going to have to take care of some stuff here. Next time, chalk the balls so they leave a mark. That's not a bad idea, right? Especially if you're a beginner and you don't quite have a good sense yet of where on the face you're striking it. Golden Golf said no. But you guys want me to keep going? You got questions, Golden? I mean, if we can get the stream chat back up, filled back up, we were down to like 8 people from 100. So it's hard to know, you know, if the people have had enough, they've had enough, which is okay. But Golden Golf said no. He said, you better stick around. Alex wants to know, how many balls a day do you hit? Not enough. Not enough. Sadly, I have to go. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, Clicks. I appreciate you being here, my dude. Clicks is one of our biggest supporters. Always telling everybody to, you know, like and subscribe. Been dealing with this big old nasty blister on my finger, which is limiting how many balls I can hit. Hey, Fred79 is in here. What's up, Fred? We are wrapping up for today's stream. Just get everything set for tomorrow. So don't be afraid to come back tomorrow or, you know, hit that subscribe button for me, guys. One more chance. If you want to hit that subscribe button before we call it a day, you get notified or, you know, find out about when new streams are happening, new videos and content gets posted, all that good stuff. Sometimes we go really crazy and we do 2 streams in a day. Just need to hit every shot like that. Trying to drill that. To me, it feels like a 3/4 backswing. I know it isn't. I mean, it looks longer than that on video, but Fred said, love your tattoos. Hi from Paris. Thanks very much. Bennett wants to know, what net are you hitting into? Good question, Bennett. This is a Net Return Pro. If you're interested in learning more about the net return, hit the link in the description. You get 10% off your purchase there. I could not, back this product more solidly than I do. It seems like it's honestly, built to last like a decade. I mean, I'm convinced I'm going to be hitting balls into here for, honestly 10 years. I've already had to break it down and reconstruct it once. That was super easy. Did it all by myself in about 7 minutes. Maybe fractionally toe side on the strike, but not bad. Really nice there. Having a lot of success with this, sawed-off finish, 3/4 backswing. Compact, kind of like a Tommy Fleetwood feel. Where I'm just trying to get to a nice compact backswing position, and then, just finish a nice compact follow-through position as well. How much is it? I think I paid $6.95. But you can get 10% off with the code in the description. So, obviously, I'm a big believer in the product. I was so convinced that I was going to buy something cheaper and then be replacing it in, 6 months. Bunch of really good strikes in a row here, guys. Figuring some things out. A drill I've been meaning to try is this Wedge drill. That was pretty well executed, honestly. What Wedge does with that drill, guys, is he puts his right hand just flat, right, to support the club head. But he's not using his right hand to, square the face at all. Right, so that can be a really good one as an advanced drill. Hit some shots. Just that right hand kind of pushing on the back side of the grip, but really force you to rotate and stay connected. Something like that. That felt like about as good as I could hit a wedge. Caleb wants to know what club I'm hitting with. This is a pitching wedge I'm practicing with. Guys, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. We are coming up on 3,000 subscribers. Hey, shout out to Slozo. Slozo and his boys in here. Do a little tennis action for you, Slozo. Check this out. could do another, like a, or like a Djokovic. Ugh! Imagine if golfers grunted like tennis players. That would be horrible. This might be the longest stream we've ever done, guys. Like, coming up on 3 hours. Having a good time. Again, it's just, you know, we got this tent set up. Shout out to Donnarumma Plumbing. If you guys are in the North Shore of Massachusetts and you need the best plumber in town, call Donnarumma Plumbing. All right? They can take care of all your most pressing needs. Patrick wants to know if you can get a, oh yeah. Sure did. Did you enjoy breakfast today? Daryl wants to know. I'm not a big breakfast guy. Donnarumma Plumbing cannot help if your house is haunted. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the service that I receive from Donnarumma Plumbing, I would suggest, could even take on a ghost. Might need backup, like, you know, second van, but definitely possible to defeat a ghost. You might say, why are you club twirling in practice? Well, you know what? Practice how you play. Because you better be sure, if I stripe one on the golf course, we're going to be giving it a bang. Hear that sound, guys? That crispy, crunchy sound? That's what you want to hear on a nice compressed golf shot. Just like that. Or as Patrick would say, oh yeah. Are you going camping later? I'm not going camping. I do not camp. I sleep inside. I'm proud that my ancestors, you know, learned how to camp so we could survive till today. But no, I don't sleep outside. What's your favorite club or one you're best with? I think my favorite club usually is driver. It's usually my best club, but not always. Recently, it's been not as good as usual, but my general answer to that question is driver. But guys, I would tell you, if you can make your putter your best club, then you're really in business. Make your putter your favorite club. Caleb said hi. It's very important to stretch in the morning and wear comfortable socks. I think that is great advice all the time, not just for golf. So good. What do you think? Little monster? Little monster? Hi. Hi. Oh, there's two of them coming to say hi. We got two monsters. Two monsters. Say, Dad, when are you going to pay attention to us? The best part about calling Donnarumma Plumbing and Heating is just the consistency of the product that you're going to get, right? Day in, day out. You can trust those guys to, you know, maintain the sanctity of your home. It can be scary, right? Letting a contractor into your home. Everybody from that team, though, just a big old teddy bear, right? You have no fears of letting them in. Gra just subbed. Amazing, Gra. Shout out to you. If you guys want a shout out, we can update in real time the subscriber count. Very cool. Thanks to you, Gra. Pat says, that's why I putt with my driver. Make sure to cut the lawn before golfing on it. That is good advice. My house is still haunted, bro, telling you that Donnarumma cannot help. Also, I wish you the best of luck. I'm going to eat snails today. Very cool. I've had some delicious snails in France myself. Escargot, if you will. very close to 3,000 subscribers, guys. Hit that subscribe button for me. I know I said we were going to finish the stream a few minutes ago, but I'm like an addict with an unlimited supply at the moment, and I can hit as many golf balls in here as I want. And when you keep hitting them like that... Also, I'm going to show you guys what I have to put up with. Alex says, I just subscribed today. Amazing. Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate that. That's awesome to show your support. Check this out, guys. This is what I got to deal with while... Hey. Hey, you. Do we need those holes in the yard? Ugh. Derek says, what are you looking for in terms of feel on the downswing? Great question. To be honest with you, the downswing happens so quickly, I don't really like having any downswing feels. I honestly just try to, you know, I have some feels for the backswing and for my weight shift and those sorts of things, right? I like to feel the club, you know, my hands stay in and the club goes out, right? So I have space. But the downswing happens so quickly, right? You know, your best bet is just focus on the back of the ball and try to deliver a good strike. And if you've, you know, if you've built a backswing and a swing that is going to consistently get the club back to the ball, then you shouldn't need a whole bunch in the terms of downswing feels. The best one I would give you is like balance, right? So just try to feel really stable and balanced as you follow through and finish, right? Into this, you know, I could stand here in this position all day long, right? I'm not falling over. I'm not, you know, doing anything crazy. So I like a simple downswing thought, something like that, like balance. What's the best 10-piece kids clubs? Well, I don't have kids and I'm not currently a child, so I don't have good advice for you on the kids clubs, but I would say, you know, start out with something basic. You don't have to spend a ton of money to get into golf, whether you're a kid or an adult. You know, just start out with a few clubs, get going to the driving range, play 9 holes, start, you know, seeing if it's for you. Patrick says, is the hole that the dogs are swinging what you mean in terms of divot? Almost. Generally speaking, I'd prefer your divot to come, you know, directly after you strike the golf ball. You know, the dog is gonna be more of a, you know, more of a behind the ball type of motion, I think. So make sure you're hitting the ball first and then the turf. Very important concept. A good way to practice that or simulate that, guys, if you are hitting inside or off of a mat, grab a piece of painter's tape and you can drop that down right behind your golf ball. And that will give you some instant feedback, right? If you do hit it heavy, sometimes the mat can, you know, until you've hit a ton of shots and learn what it feels like, can really, you know, throw you for a loop. So that can be a good way to get some feedback. So like that one was maybe a groove high, where you can just tell like the sound is a little different. You kind of feel that denser sound, like, oh, you might have hit the turf first. Right, as opposed to that one where you really hear the ball first, and then just that kind of, you know, light brushing of the turf. All right, guys, I think that is going to do it for today's stream here at the bottom of the hour. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate all the support, all those new subscribers, all the likes. And check back, hit that subscribe button for me.